This is We All Be, news-free Dixie for the 21st century. See how it works? Somewhere. Can you dig it?
And so just want you to know. Man, I looked at that smile on your face just now. And the first time I ever wished I was a photographer to take that picture and let the world see that honesty and that integrity and know some of the things I know, how you drive all over the country to chase us down. Chase us down. Okay? We move so fast. I don't know if you're married. I don't know if you're a family. I don't know if you're a wife. Okay? But when we get on here, we bosom friends. Anytime I see you, I stop whatever I'm doing. Hey, my man, how are you? Hey. Hey, man, well, you know, that's, I owe that to you. It's an obligation that you have. How old are you?
Oh, 36.
So you don't have the right to do what 36 people do. You don't have the right to go to the dance or go to the party. You don't have a right to take that trip to Europe when I might need that plane fare to fly somebody else to feed my people that love me. Mm-hmm. You feed them. Oh, it's one thing being hungry from food. Right. There's another thing being hungry for information.
That's right.
And that's you, the feeder. You got to be the farmer. You got to grow the crop. Huh? You got to till the grain. And at nighttime, when you hear something that sounds like water, you got to go see if the crop's going to be flooded. That's your job, man.
Hey, everybody, this is Brother Ron. I am asking you all to do me a big favor. Think about supporting the We All Be movement. Your donation is tax deductible. The We All Be Group Incorporated is a recognized 501c3. And I'm just asking you all because I want to keep on bringing y'all quality work through the way that I know how to do best. And I'm going to sing my praises and toot my horn. A lot of y'all were not hip to Dick Gregory until Brother Ron brought him on the We All Be platform, until that jingle review we did. Y'all seen another side of Judge Joe Brown, and Judge Joe Brown's message has been amplified. But it was We All Be that brought Judge Joe Brown to y'all back in 2014, and so many others. And we covered so many things. So help us out so we can help you all. Peace.
This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News, news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
Here's the way that Trump and Bernie Sanders was able to do the crap they said they're able to do. I ran for president of the United States as a write-in in 1968. That night, Hillary, Bernie, Trump, New York Times, Washington Post, and all you thugs. Check out one of the main papers, same garbage, in the history of the planet, the Wall Street Journal. So this is not Dick Gregory telling you this. Check out Wall Street Journal ran this story 4 days after the election of 1963. And it said to the world on November the 4th, I'm sorry, 1968.
Yes, sir.
November the 4th, not 63, November the 4th, 1968, all the polling places that took up data had to be shut down because it showed Dick Gregory had been elected president of the United States. And they did this because in the state of Pennsylvania, the computers gave me 9 million votes out of Pennsylvania. And it showed a trend. Now, let me tell you all, truth ain't never had to be validated by your ignorance. But let me say this. The story ran 3 days later, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The Wall Street Journal, Friday, November the 7th, 1968, the story ran. There was a mistake made. Computers goof showed Dick Gregory with 9 million votes out of the state of Pennsylvania, so they had to shut all the computers down. Because the presumptive president of the United States, it wasn't the prime minister, showed that's what they're doing now. And that's what you deserve. To own slaves, to do the stuff you do now, dropping bombs on little children and stuff. And so that's how you can see Bernie Sanders. Nobody talks about Ben and Jerry. With millions is funneled through there for him, none but a thug and a punk. That's how that thug can do everything backwards.
Guess who's black? Black again. Brother run. Tell a friend. Guess who's back and still black? Blacker than Kamala Harris, that is. You know, I'm still light skinned, but blacker than Kamala Harris. This is this is Brother Ron. We all be in it to win it. Welcome, welcome, welcome to a Black August Monday, baby. Hope everybody's doing great out there. Fantabulous, black tabulous out there. I just want to come and make a commitment to the people. All power to the people, because we all be in it to win it. Remember that so-called black power is really unity and solidarity. White power is divide and conquer. And we are living in a so-called white power dynamic, but the universal God runs on black power of unity and solidarity. And we are very rhythmic people, the one and only true humane beings, man. And I want to do something to counter the narrative, because I think it's very fascinating out there. I could tell the people who watch the news every day thinking they're getting the news, when it's really Operation Mockingbird propaganda you're getting, spin on spins on spins on spins. word salads like Kamala Harris. She's talking about collard green. Now she's an expert in making word salads. That's what she does. We all be in it to win it. But Brother Malcolm told us many years ago that the most powerful entity on the planet is the media, because it influences and controls the minds of the masses. It's the most powerful entity on the planet. Even one tricky dicky Milhouse Nixon, Richard Milhouse Nixon, I am not a crook, told the truth when he did an interview some years ago after he was president. He talking about people talk about the president has a lot of power, but of course the presidential power is checked by Congress. It's checked. Got the executive branch with the president, got the legislative, got the judicial. So there's a check and balance with the power of the president. But like he said the media is the most powerful thing. Just like Brother Malcolm said, the media is the most powerful thing. Like Richard Milhouse Nixon, he said they really drunk on power in the media infrastructure, in the media industrial complex, right? So, y'all got to ask yourself a question. I really been thinking about this because y'all been drinking that Kamala Jim Jones Kool-Aid. A lot of us have been. And you got to ask yourself a question. Where in the world was Kamala for the last 3 years? Where in the world was Kamala Harris for the last 3 years? Now all of a sudden she's the great light hype. She's the great light hype. And everybody like, oh, Kamala, she's just indefensible. I mean, she's undefeated. She's just a phenomenal heavyweight in this political game. But she was MIA. I won't say AWOL, but she was kind of MIA for about the first 3.5 years of the Joe Biden administration. Like she's supposed to be the border czar, or is the border czar. And you look at the failure, which is the border patrol, not the border patrol men and women, but the policies behind so-called border patrol has failed this country. We are really looking like the last days of the Roman Empire. The barbarians are not only at the gate, they're inside the courtyard. They're no longer at the gate. They are inside the courtyard. And what people got to understand, this is not, when we talking about illegal aliens and migrants, we're not talking about a specific group of people, because the people that's crossing that border into our nation are more than just so-called Mexicans. All types of nationalities and entities are crossing that border into America, gobbling up all the resources. And then people tell more his families escaping military persecution, but a lot of the people crossing the border are young men of military age. Let me repeat, a lot of the people crossing the border illegally are young men of military age. So you do know that there are immigrants or migrants that join the U.S. military. I guess that's a pathway towards citizenship, right? Are y'all aware of that? Are y'all also aware that Congress just passed a resolution, I believe, not that long ago, about bringing back the draft? Like the draft is on the table. So we're going back to the Vietnam era, right? With the draft, right? World War II with the draft. And y'all been hearing rumors of wars, right? Just had the incident, U.S. military base over in Iraq, some type of rocket missile situation. And this could be a false flag. Maybe this could be like the Gulf of Tonkin incident back in '64 that never happened, which had real consequences in terms of elevating our involvement, our engagement in the Vietnam conflict. That Gulf of Tonkin incident was a false flag. Now, look up what a false flag is. Do you understand? Like, these things are staged, but they have real life consequences. These things are staged by certain entities to fulfill a certain agenda, and they have real world consequences. Look up Operation Northwoods. This is what they wanted President JFK, John F. Kennedy, to pursue in order to get the United States of America into a war with Cuba and Russia. Kennedy had enough sense to not take the bait. He turned down the Operation Northwoods agenda. This is our own government that plot these things. Like Dr. King said, the greatest purveyor of violence on the planet is my own government. And of course, we all know what happened to Dr. King. So with that said, I just want to get on here and try to counterpunch what I've been seeing. I think it's very unfortunate that a lot of our people are using their energy and resources to die on the hill for Kamala Harris or even Donald J. Trump. I'm a Trump supporter. I'm not a paid shield. I'm not an agent. Trust me. If you see my bank account, you would know that I'm not an agent. You see my credit cards situation, you would know I'm not an agent, because agents, at least the smart ones, get paid and get compensated. I'm not getting paid and compensated. Matter of fact, I feel like I'm being alienated from so-called family and friends from my point of view. But I know I study history. I'm not ahistorical. I'm very historical. I'm very in tune and out of tune with the way these things go. So I have no problem knowing that I am on the right side of history in this moment in time. I call it the Trump geist, the spirit of the times. You know, Baba Dick Gregory talked about he feared Trump's shadow, right? And a lot of people get caught up on, like, Donald Trump. Donald Trump ain't the problem. It's what came after Donald Trump's presidency. That is it. What has come in the aftermath of a Trump presidency. Things are being exposed now. Things are more transparent than ever before. But the unfortunate fact is, this is not speculation, is that we, the people, the American public, has been dumbed down by design to not have a spirit of discernment when it comes to recognizing things are turning, shifts are shifting, and now's the time to engage. This is not a time to be caught up in your gang colors, whether it be the Republicans, Republicans, or the Democrats, right? Whatever y'all want to say. But America is nothing but a gangster party. American history is nothing but a gangster party. American politics are nothing. It's nothing but a gangster party. So we gotta get in the mindset of we are at war. A war, info wars, spiritual war, war for resources. There's a lot of things going on. And it just really amazes me that people are so concerned about these Olympics. This is nothing but bread and circuses on steroids. I'm not paying attention to the Olympics. All I gotta do is go on Google or whatever and just Google up the results and who got the medals and all that. Russia is not participating, I don't think, in the Olympics, right? As far as being a country, I'm sure there are probably people of Russian heritage, whatever, are in the Olympics, but I don't think Russia as a country is competing this year, because really we are at war. This is World War III. This is where we at. It's kind of like these Olympics remind me of not that I was there. I don't time travel. I don't got the ability to time travel, but go back to the 36 Olympics in Berlin. What was going on in 1936 in Europe? What was going on in 1936 in Germany? What was going on in the world? Then 3 years later, of course, you had Germany invade Poland back in 1939, which then you had 2 years after that, Pearl Harbor, right? December 7th, 1941, a day which would live on in infamy. The day that George H.W. Bush could remember where he was at when he heard the news of Pearl Harbor, but he could not remember where he was at when he heard that President Kennedy got killed November 22nd, 1963. So it's very fascinating times we're living in. So I say out this to say, be hip to the game. Don't be so woke that you really sleepwalking. Don't be so woke. We gotta wake up the woke. We gotta wake up the woke. Don't be so woke where you sleepwalking. Wake up the woke is not a lot of things not what we think they are. A lot of things not what we think they are. And I something compelled me to come on at this time in Black August. Like I said, I want to move y'all to website off of YouTube Plantation. YT. I don't call it YouTube. It's Y and T. So I call it YT. I'm trying to get away from YT. And so I want y'all to help me get away from YT by subscribing to rumble.com/WeAllBeTV. I'm going to type it up.
WeAllBeTV. That's rumble.com. We need all the help because we got to get off because I can't do the censorship thing. It's just weird to me. I see other people are allowed to say my same talking points and have no problem gaining and keeping subscribers and keeping videos up on the platform. And I'm not no celebrity like that. I'm not famous. I'm not privileged. I'm not compensated well for this stuff. But I think it's very important that history will be judging the folks who took a stand in this point in history. It's important not to be quiet or on the sidelines, not allow anyone or any entity to marginalize your voice, but rather to amplify your voice by any means necessary. So this is why I'm coming really today. But I need y'all help. I need y'all to subscribe. Gonna get out this. I'm not gonna be live streaming on the WeAllBeTV channel. Those days are coming to an end. It's the end of an era. But we will be moving forward. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe. Rumble.com/WeAllBeTV. Let's get that up to over 100 subscribers tonight. Can we get 100 subscribers tonight over there? Rumble.com WeAllBeTV. And for those who can't get off the plantation right now, we got a backup channel. And we ain't gonna be able to post all the stuff on that backup channel because it's still a white tea plantation. It is still white tea plantation. So we got to learn, and we really need to be building our own. God bless a child that got its own. God bless a child that got its own. That's got its own. We need our own, y'all. It's that time. We need a league of our own, a platform of our own where we don't have to apologize for being uniquely us. But let me put in this. Subscribe. Let's get that backup channel on YT Plantation. Let's get that popping over there because I'm gonna be removing videos off this platform, off the first YouTube channel, WeAllBeTV, because this is ridiculous. The censorship is off the chain. The censorship is off the chain. Judge Joe Brown is correct. The censorship is ridiculous. So if y'all can't get out the plantation for right now, go to youtube.com/WeAllBeTV too, because we're gonna be shutting the WeAllBeTV original down in terms of like live streaming. I will be posting content from time to time, but I need to transfer as many of you all over to the second YouTube channel. You see down here, take look, it's in your face, in the place. And we're gonna keep it moving, man. But and speaking of Judge Joe Brown, I see the backlash and people out in their feelings about what he said. Judge Joe Brown is jealous. He mad because Kamala didn't give him no nookie or whatever. I want barbecue sauce with my nookie. I didn't get no nookie in the barbecue sauce. So by the way, Judge is always Judge. Judge been the same OG, authentically who he is. He's been consistent about his stance on Kamala Harris and on the Democratic Party or the Gayocratic Party, the Slave Master Party, the party of not Lincoln, but of the KKK, of the Federal Reserve, of the IRS, that party of Jim Crow, of redlining, of race massacres, of insurrections. Like that January 6th was not an insurrection. Now, what happened in Wilmington, North Carolina, 1898, that's an insurrection. Just like a lot of y'all believe that what happened in Pennsylvania wasn't real. Donald Trump almost got taken out of here. That was real. But the problem with us is we look at too many movies. We too desensitized. We play a lot of these crazy video games. We think we know how things look in real time. What they do with the movies and the TV shows and the video games is to desensitize people, to cut out people's way to empathize with their fellow person. See, we in the age of technology, of information, but people are so far apart now than we have ever been. If you think about it, yes, the world has been made smaller by technology, but we are more isolated and alienated at the same time. We're not as neighborly. Because if you want to talk about this is like the civil rights movement, back in the day, what made them such effective organizers and communicators, the elders who was involved in the movement, was that they had to go into the communities and speak to the people and live among the people and work among the people. They had to get to understand the people they were trying to serve. You know, you think about this summer marks the 60th anniversary of Freedom Summer down in Mississippi, right? You had, you know, yesterday, August the 4th, was the 60th anniversary of when the government found the bodies of Michael Swerner, Andrew Goodman, and James Chaney. Was it James Chaney or John Chaney? I think it's James Chaney, right? Down there in Mississippi, down there a little bit outside Philadelphia, Mississippi. They were buried in an earthen dam owned by a prominent white what y'all call white supremacist. I call it white inferiorities, whatever. This guy named alleged white supremacist Klans person, Olin Barrage. Olin Barrage, very prosperous landowner and business person down there in Mississippi back in the time. They found the remains, the bodies of Michael Swerner, Andrew Goodman, and James Chaney. James Chaney, I believe, was 21. I think Andrew Goodman was about 20. And Michael Swerner, who the Klan called goatee because he had a prominent goatee. And he was a Jew from New York. Andrew Goodman was a Jew from New York. And James Chaney was a black man from Mississippi down there, Meridian, which is near Philadelphia. This is Neshoba County. Neshoba County. So their bodies was discovered. And Dick Gregory had a part to play in that. Dick Gregory was also the inspiration for Freedom Summer. This is well documented in a documentary that came out on Freedom Summer several years ago. Pretty good documentary. Bob Moses, one of the architects of the Mississippi Freedom Movement, a genius dude, co-founder of the Algebra Project, now a righteous ancestor. He gave Baba Dick Gregory his props because he said what inspired them to do Freedom Summer was when they saw Dick Gregory bring all that food and supplies to Greenwood, Mississippi in the Delta, because the government stopped black folks from getting food stamps and all types of assistance because they insisted on registering. Excuse me. They insisted on registering to vote. So the government, this is under a Democrat, right? The Democratic president, the Kennedy administration, cut these people's benefits off because they insisted on standing up for themselves and registering to vote. So what Baba Dick Gregory did, from my understanding, he, with the help of Hugh Hefner of Playboy, because it was Hugh Hefner that discovered Baba Dick Gregory in Chicago, allowed him to perform, do his thing at the Playboy Club in Chicago, because Playboy was headquartered in Chicago before Hugh Hefner made the move to L.A. But the Playboy movement started in Chicago. Chicago, that toddling town. So Dick was able to charter a plane full of food and supplies and brought it to the Delta. That's one person doing that. That's one man, one movement. That's the power of a black man when you are on your game, when you know your purpose. That's the power. That's what Baba Dick Gregory did as one person. And that inspired Bob Moses and the rest of the organizers for Freedom Summer. Said, if he could do that with one person, imagine if a group of us did it, you know, what would be the effect? And so Freedom Summer was birthed out of Baba Dick Gregory's commitment to the people in the Mississippi Delta, as well as to his dear friend, the late, great Medgar Evers, who we also lost in 1963, June 12, 1963. So got killed in front of his family, coming home from work, and 37 years young. So we got to realize the sacrifices that were made. And this is why I'm doing what I do, because these things won't be brought up. And even a lot of so-called new black media, they don't really, some of us don't do our homework. And we don't understand the history like we should. And we should be not only overstanding the history, but also be able to connect that to what's going on in the present day. And, you know, you think about Mississippi Freedom Summer, you guys think about the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, right? The Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, which they went to the Democratic Convention in Atlantic City back in 1964. You know, Lyndon B. Johnson, he was running on the legacy of JFK. He was the vice president when JFK was assassinated. He became president. He basically wrapped himself up in that JFK legacy of Camelot. It's kind of like, I ain't gonna say he did a Diddy, but you know how Diddy took Biggie and just wrapped him up. You know, he did those songs and stuff that with the Police sample from Sting. I'll be missing you. Kind of like Diddy did a LBJ. He's, I'm gonna just put myself in the cloth of the martyr. We're going, yes, we shall overcome. Yes, we shall overcome, Niagaras. Yes. So, but the problem is that Mississippi had a significant black population that was not well represented by the Democratic Party in the state of Mississippi. See, what y'all don't understand, which is very sad, when I look at these comments on social media, how black folks are so divided. We at each other. We shouldn't be. We all we got. We don't have any friends or allies if we're not friends and allies to ourselves. All the people who say vote blue no matter who, you cannot love Malcolm X if you say crap like that. I'm not taking it personal, but I'm saying if you the type that said we're going to vote blue no matter who, then Malcolm X's existence was in vain. Malcolm dedicated the last 2 years of his life talking bad about the Democratic Party. He talked about white liberals. He talked about the white conservatives, but he did a Kendrick Lamar not like us rant several times about the Democratic Party. Yes, he did. You know, he wasn't when Barry Goldwater was running against Lyndon B. Johnson. Malcolm didn't say he was for the Democratic Party. He didn't endorse Johnson. The Nation of Islam were not involved in politics back in those times. And he was excommunicated, of course, from the nation in 1964. But, you know, if you look at the interviews that he did and what he talked about, he didn't say, you know, black folks shouldn't vote for no Barry Goldwater. He didn't say that. But he did critique the political system overall in a message to the grassroots. One of my favorite Malcolm X's speeches, a lot of y'all talk about the ballot or the bullet. Message to the grassroots. The ballot and the bullet was similar speeches. Message to the grassroots, I believe, came out in November of 1963. If I'm not mistaken, on my Malcolm Files, the people that love the legacy of Malcolm X who actually study Malcolm X. I believe the message to the grassroots came out, I want to say, dare I say November 10th, 1963. Y'all can look it up. But if I got the dates wrong and stuff like that, y'all can discredit everything I say after this, right? You know, Joe Rogan could be a little bit off on things. Alex Jones could be a little bit off on things, but God forbid that Brother Ron get a date off or a name wrong, mispronounced. It just cancels everything I said. But he talks about how you look at, you know, both political parties are members of the canine family. He talked about how the Democratic Party was like foxes, the white liberals, and the conservatives was like wolves. And the difference was that the wolves let you know where they stand with you, what they really thought about you, whereas the fox will hide their intentions about what they really felt about you. And to break it down in further, Brother Malcolm said this. He said that I'm paraphrasing. The Negro Revolution is controlled by the government and white liberals, white foxy liberals, right? But the Black Revolution is controlled by God. He said the Negro Revolution is controlled by foxy white liberals and the government, but the Black Revolution is controlled by God. We are God's people, you black people, so-called black people, so-called people with no identity. We got the power. But y'all don't really understand is that I'm not telling people you should vote because I believe that black people are the only group of people that are vote shamed in America. Nobody else get vote shamed like black. I don't hear about no Mexicans or Hispanic Americans, no Asian Americans, no white Americans, no Jewish Americans. Nobody gets vote shamed like black folk. Yet we have little to nothing to show for our so-called commitment to voting as well as to the Democratic plantation. And what I'm here is I'm trying to shift that. I'm trying to, because we gotta. This is historic. This is definitely historic. What's going on with the so-called black vote in this country, and I refuse for my people to be taken advantage of without us saying something about it, pushing back against it. This is a mistake that if we don't take advantage of this situation because they are running scared. And getting back to Malcolm, I want to get back, like, we talking about Joe Biden. Joe Biden told Charlamagne the God. And I don't know who Charlamagne the God ain't my black leader. He's not a black leader for me. He's not even Jesse Jackson. Y'all be crapping on Jesse Jackson. But I would tell Jesse Jackson did a lot of good things before he was able to do. Now, for all his criticisms and critiques and stuff, and sometimes in love, sometimes in hate, Jesse did a lot of good things for the nation as well as for black people that one day be recognized. I know the other problems with Jesse. I talked to people that worked in the movement with Jesse, what they thought. But one thing Jesse he ain't a dummy. Very brilliant, because even Dick Gregory said one of the finest minds on the planet. Whatever he thought about Jesse and all that, it's been documented to a certain degree. But like, he never said he was stupid, and he wasn't stupid, but he tried to do things to help us. But this is what I'm saying. The Democratic Party are in a hard spot right now with black people, and rightfully so, because they just been taking us for granted for too long. And I'm very I have no problem with black people, black Americans. Let's just specify what I'm talking about when I'm talking about black people. I'm talking about black Americans, basically what Tariq would say, foundational black Americans, basically what Yvette Carnell and Tone Talks would say, American descendants of slaves. I'm talking about black Americans that been here for generations. Family, you could trace your family back to the start of Republic, Revolutionary War, Civil War. I could trace my people. They fought in the Revolutionary War, Civil War. Black Americans, real, authentic, black-made Americans. They're called BMAs, black-made Americans. Whatever. All that stuff. But what I'm saying is to say is that put some respect on our voting block. We need to put some respect on our names ourselves. But Malcolm critiqued the Democratic Party in particular. He wasn't as, he went out of the Republicans too, but his thing was he saw how infatuated, even at that time in the 60s, that black folks were with the Democratic Party. And he made it clear that he would name the names. It was like Tupac. Tupac didn't do subliminal dishes. Malcolm didn't do subliminal dishes. He would name the people he had problems with. He would critique the people and would name them in the public arena. And what he named, I remember, like, you listen to the Message to the Grassroots, he talked about how, the Democratic Party and the federal government basically control the movement, the Negro movement. And he talked about how he selected the leaders of this so-called movement, the so-called Big Six. If you know who the Big Six was, Dr. King, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, A. Philip Randolph, let's see, Whitney Young, Urban League, National Urban League, Roy Wilkins, NAACP, John Lewis, Student Coordinator, the Student Nonviolence Coordinating Committee, SNCC, right? And then also you had James Farmer of CORE, the Congress of Racial Equality. These were the Big Six. They were financed by the government. They were told when to come to Washington, D.C., what to say. They had to get their approval from their masters to say certain things, and had to be out of Washington, D.C. by sundown. So D.C. is a sundown town. You think about, they did it in front of the Lincoln Memorial, right? They had the March on Washington in 63 in front of the Lincoln Memorial. And when people think about Illinois, right? Illinois. You think about what happened to Sister Sonia Massey, the righteous ancestor now, who got killed in her home by some thugs, by some law enforcement thug named Sean Grayson in Springfield, Illinois. The land of Lincoln, right? Illinois is the land of Lincoln. Same Springfield where Obama made his announcement for his historic presidential run. He did that back in January of 2007. Was that January 2007 when he made the announcement in Springfield? And this is not the same Springfield where they had the Springfield Race Massacre of 1908, which led to the formation, or was the inspiration for the formation of the NAACP in 1909. See, what's interesting about Illinois is that when I think about Illinois, I don't think about land of Lincoln. I think about land of sundown towns. Illinois is the land of sundown towns. We think about sundown towns. We had this phenomenon that people are now talking about, or sundown towns, is places where black folks could not be out in public after dark. And these places still exist in this country. If you want to believe that or not, I remember my uncle, who was a truck driver, he drove to all the 48 states in the continental United States. This man drove from New York to L.A., vice versa. He would drive through the Rockies, drove to Mexico to the border. He would tell us, he said, look, never get out at an exit where there's no like food, no how to have signs where exit, you can exit here for food and gas. He said never get off at an exit with no type of signs like with food and gas and restaurant signs and stuff, because you may not be heard from again. So he was very careful. He said don't get off of those exits, try to stay on the main highway, whatever interstate, and get off at the exits that will advertise lodging, food, gas, and stuff like that, but never the ones that don't advertise that. So you think about, Midwest got a lot of sundown towns. People think about sundown towns, they thinking about the South, but really black and whites live together in the South, more so than the North. You look, even Chicago is very racially polarized. Places like St. Louis is racially polarized. It's like the further north you go, the more racially polarized things are. It's like even the song St. Louis Blues that W.C. Handy wrote, it's about sundown towns. I hate to see when that sun goes down. Read the lyrics. Listen to the lyrics. I hate to see when that sun goes down. The sun goes down. Your black ass better not be around because it's a sundown town. So this is the country. Like, they told Martin and them when to come to DC, what to say, and when to leave. You had to get out there by sundown. That's what I heard. And Malcolm talked about, he called it the farce on Washington, because that was not even a protest. That was like a rally and a picnic. Because, the truth about the March on Washington was about trying to raise the minimum wage, from my understanding, the working wage. It wasn't a protest. It was a protest. See, my thing about people, it's weird to me. Like when we talking about we marching, we protesting. Okay, if you protesting or marching and you need a permit, that's not a protest or a march. It's a march, but it's not a protest. It's a parade. If you say we're gonna protest police brutality, we're gonna protest injustice, but yet you begging the same institutions and entities to allow you the privilege to protest, that's not a protest. That's a parade. You getting a permit. Because if you really want to protest, you would say forget a permit. You will show up in busy places that shut down business as usual. That's why the March on Washington was allowed to happen, because it was peaceful, it was organized, it was maintained and controlled by the government and certain political entities. It was not a protest. It was a rally for jobs, which is interesting because if you think about what's going on now with inflation and the cost of living has skyrocketed, and y'all talk about how bad the 60s were. The 60s wasn't all that bad. I don't care what nobody said. Y'all talking about Jim Crow and the segregation and the Klan and all that. Look, back in the 60s, America was experiencing a very historic economic expansion. We actually was producing things in factories like Detroit. You had the auto industry. You down south factories like, and even in Memphis. I always tell people, I want to make this point. If you were living in Memphis and North Memphis back in the 60s, and you went to Manassas High School near Firestone Tire Company, guess what? You could drop out of high school, not get a diploma, and go across the street and work at Firestone about 40 years, raise a family of 4. Your wife could stay at home and take care of home, cook, clean, raise the kids. One job, one income could take care of a family of 4. Work that one job for 30, 40 years, get a good pension, retirement, send all your kids to college, no problem. Real middle class. You was able to have a real solid middle class living, even without a high school diploma, let alone a college degree. These are black people. So you trying to tell me that it was so bad that this is better, that you can't afford no bread, eggs, gas, rent, light bill, can't afford to date. You know, a lot of women are dating not because they want to be with you, because they want to eat some food. A lot of these women are going on dates not to get to know you better, but to fill their belly up, and maybe even take care of their kids. You know, have you buy them food for their kids. This is the reality of where we at. You know, people are so broke and so broken that we're afraid to start families. We're afraid because, I mean, it's different. Our parents, grandparents, your parents, like early boomers, mid boomers, whatever, grandparents, they had it good. I mean, I know it sounds like, people, oh my God, it was horrible for black people. It's horrible for black people now. It's horrible for us now. If you think this can't be life, think about that Jay-Z, Scarface song, Yay on the Beat, Benny Siegel. But Benny Siegel, this can't be life. It is life. This is our life. Our life, our life, our life, our life, not in the sunshine, not in the sunshine. So this is where we at right now. So I'm telling you, back in the 60s, you mean you could get a job, drop out of high school, could get gainful employment in your community. Not you don't have to drive, you know, 1 hour to and 1 hour back from work. You can actually work in your community, live in that same community. Dollar will recycle in said community. So this is why I talk the way I talk. And this is what they don't tell us. We're not getting nothing for our votes. We're not getting anything. The Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, they crashed the Democratic Convention up in Atlantic, the Democratic National Convention up in Atlantic City back in the summer of 64. This is the same summer of Freedom Summer. So black folks said we not only want to register to vote, we want to make sure that we are represented by our delegation that's supposed to represent the state of Mississippi, the so-called Magnolia State. So Fannie Lou Hamer, John Lewis, and Stokely Carmichael, a couple, some really ride or die revolutionary types. They crashed the Democratic National Convention party to be recognized. Fannie Lou Hamer, I love Fannie Lou Hamer. I love her because she's amazing, and we should know her. She should be a household name among so-called FBA ADOS Black made Americans. She should be a household name. Black made Americans. Yeah, that's me. Black made Americans. I came up with BMAs, right? That's me. So what she did was extraordinary in that she learned that she could vote after the age of 40. She didn't know that she could vote until she was 40 something years old. And once she figured that out, she was on her mission, man. She was on her grind. And she was so committed to exercising her rights that they put her in prison. Not prison, but they put her in a jail. The jail in Winona, Mississippi. Sheriff deputies put her in a jail, and they told black male inmates, I can't call them men, these are males, and really eunuchs, castrated, emasculated black males, beat Fannie Lou Hamer to an inch of her life. She had lifelong injuries because of what happened to her that one night in a Winona, Mississippi jail cell. She almost died. And yet she was able to commit herself to liberation of people all the way until she died prematurely in her 50s. And the reason why I brought her up is because those powerful, so-called powerful Democratic Party people, including the president, they feared this black woman from Mississippi with a gold tooth or teeth, whatever, who lived most of her life on a plantation, who was the number 20th child of her parents. She was number 20 of her mom and dad, family of sharecroppers, gifted at mathematics. When things not added up and concluding the way they do, you get Fannie Lou Hamer, Mrs. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so the Democratic Party was very much afraid of Fannie Lou Hamer when she tried to testify before the committee for credentials and stuff like that. To help the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party recognized. They would cut to commercials like, she was singing. Her singing was scared the hell out of Lyndon B. Johnson and all them Democrats. She actually could sing. There's actually, just Google or go on YouTube. I'm sure there's some songs that Fannie Lou Hamer recorded that's on YouTube and other places. It's a very, very powerful voice she had. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, and shine it did for her. And the reason why I bring up Malcolm X had a lot of respect for Fannie Lou Hamer and for the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party for what they were trying to do. Although they didn't get a victory, they made some inroads because the Mississippi Democratic Party was very notorious for being the most hardline of so-called white supremacists. Because you had Joe Biden's mentors. These are Joe Biden mentors, U.S. Senators John Stennis and James Eastland. They personally groomed Joe Biden. Joe Biden mentioned them, Strom Thurmond, Robert Byrd, Democrat, top Klansman in West Virginia for years. He did his eulogy at his funeral. I almost lived to be 100. Governor Faubus, who was governor of Arkansas during the time of the Little Rock 9 crisis. George Wallace, of course, governor of Alabama. These were Joe Biden's mentors. So when he said that if you don't vote for me, if you don't vote Democrat, you ain't black, he talking about some Candyland politics right there. He got trained by the Calvin Candies of the political infrastructure in this country. I'm talking about the Calvin Candy from Django that was played by Leonardo DiCaprio, right? Candyland. So Joe Biden has a Candyland approach when it comes dealing with the so-called black constituency, and he was part of that bloodline basically. If you think about, both sides, they two wings on the same bird, right? Because when Reagan announced, I guess, his acceptance of the Republican Party's nomination for president of the United States back in 1980, guess where he did it at? He did a speech down at the Neshoba County Fair back in 1980, talking about state rights. And I mentioned Neshoba County earlier in this talk. We were talking about the 3 civil rights workers, the Mississippi burning case of Michael Swerner, Mickey Swerner, Andrew Goodman, and James Chaney. He did his speech down there in Neshoba County, Mississippi, when them 3 civil rights workers were buried in the earthen dam back in 1980. His campaign strategist was Lee Atwater. Lee Atwater is an interesting dude. Cat from South Carolina, white boy from South Carolina, was like, basically he gave us Karl Rove, who people call Bush's brain. Karl Rove was a Spengali, we call it. He was a guru for the Republican Party when it came to marketing to the masses. Karl Rove. Y'all remember Karl Rove? Karl and Rove, R-O-V-E. His mentor was Lee Atwater, who was he was very good at his job in terms of implementing the so-called Southern strategy to get white working class people to vote, because Republican Party used to be the party of Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, but then I ain't gonna say they switched sides. I don't believe they switched sides like that, because you look at the insurrections and stuff, the race massacres, a lot of these involve Democrats. The insurrection of 1898 down in Wilmington, it was the outer party Democratic Party that overthrew a rightfully elected government. There was a fusion government of black and white people in Wilmington. Wilmington was the largest city in North Carolina when the insurrection went down. Charlotte is the largest city now, but back in those times, Wilmington was a booming, growing city where black folks had a piece of the pie. Black folks owned land. They ran businesses in Wilmington. They had a black and white government that was for all peoples, kind of like, they are the children of Bacon's Rebellion. They were trying to work together, to live together, to thrive together. But black folks had a chance to achieve the American dream. And the Democratic Party took that away from them in Wilmington back in 1898. And we're still dealing with the effects of that, because that let everybody else know that it was okay to push back on black folks, on black excellence, to take from black people what we have so much commit ourselves to working hard for, to gaining. And Lee Atwater, he had him down to brain cancer, I believe. And they had him on the board of Howard University. He was on the chairman board or whatever. Like, he was on that board where they helped, raise money for Howard University, and the students protested his appointment to that board. So I believe he resigned. But he was an interesting dude. He had he was a very decent blues guitarist. He actually cut records with B.B. King. I believe he had a barbecue restaurant up in the DMV area, this DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So he, being from South Carolina, he overstood black folks' hopes and white folks' fears. And I'm gonna paraphrase what he said about the Southern strategy, getting the white, poor, and working class, and even elements of the middle class to come to the Republican Party to basically still maintain so-called white privilege. He said, I'm paraphrasing Lee Atwater. Look him up, Lee, like Lee Atwater, Atwater. It's Atwater. He said, back in the 50s, you could say the naga, 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 right? Naga, 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 naga. I said that's Ethiopian kings. You could say Ethiopian kings all day long. But now, instead of saying that, you got to replace it with state rights, state rights, state rights, state rights. We call it dog whistling, like code switching, dog whistling, whatever they call it, the little strategy. He said, when we talk about state rights, we're really talking about keeping black folks in their place. That's what I'm telling y'all. That's what he was saying. And Reagan, who was a governor of California, you remember Reagan was the governor when they privatized education. He made college, Reagan administration, California governor, he made it what is now crazy amount of money to go to college. It was under his administration that they pushed back on the Panthers. The Panthers went to Sacramento with their guns and leather jackets and berets. That was Reagan as governor. So you see what happened to the Panther Party, how they pushed back on people open and carry and stuff like that. Like I said, they basically put money into education and drove the education out of education. So it's really this miseducation and indoctrination. And but in his speech, when he accepted the nomination for president nominee for the Republican Party in the Neshoba County Fair, he mentioned, he referenced state rights. And he did it, like I said, in Neshoba County, where them 3 civil rights workers were lynched. So that's by design. And then his key strategists talked about how they got the white vote to come to them. The disenfranchised or disillusioned white votes who would normally vote for the Democratic Party, they end up voting for Reagan. And it started with Nixon though. And this stuff is really complex. It's complex and simple at the same time. But we don't really talk about a lot of this stuff. We just, I can't stand Trump. I can't stand Kamala. I'll talk about, I just go vote blue no matter who. I ain't saying vote red if you're scared. Don't vote red if you're scared, and don't vote blue no matter who. I'm telling you, let's deal with the reality of our situation as so-called black-made Americans. Let's deal with this reality. So I can say this about Trump, and Trump is interesting. He is an American president. Trump represents something. His family is a very unique family. His daddy was a real estate mogul, builder, whatever you want to call him. He helped build, homes for soldiers coming home from World War II. He helped build up the suburbs, and as well as the projects. I think his father got the contract to build the Queens Bridge projects up in New York City, one of the largest, if not the largest, project in the country. So, his father was a builder, and also his father was a suspect Klansman. And I just think it's interesting. I remember when Bob and Dick Gregory back in 2016, I believe I showed Bob and Dick Gregory an article from the New York Times back in June of 27 or something like that. I think it was New York Times, June of 1927. Oh, summer night. It was something. It was New York Times back in the 1920s. Let me just play it safe because y'all just credit everything I say. Maybe. And it talks about the Klan having a rally. So people don't understand the Ku Klux Klan was not just a Southern thing. The Ku Klux Klan was created in Tennessee back in the 1860s after the Civil War. Pulaski, Tennessee, and Nashville, Tennessee played a role. Nathan Bedford Forrest was the first Grand Wizard of the Klan. a Memphian, like me. He's a Memphian, but he's not like us. But he was a Memphian back in those times. But the Klan went away, especially when Ulysses Grant became president. They rode real hard on the Klan. The federal government really rode hard on the Klan. For 10 years, black folks were able to do some stuff with themselves until the Republicans sold out the black people. Republican Party still owed black made Americans an apology. FBA, ADOS, they still owe us because they sold us out over that Tilden Hayes election back in 1876, because the Democrats said y'all could keep the White House if y'all withdraw the troops from the South. And that's what the federal government did. And when they did that, they kind of like created what ended up becoming what we had to go through in the last century, right? Because they let us down. And I'm just getting all lucid. I'm going to bring it back. His daddy was allegedly a suspect Klansman. The reason why I say that, because in the New York Times article, they mentioned a Fred Trump of Queens, because it was a situation with the Klan. He had a rally in New York City, and they got into it with the police, NYPD's finest. So they got into a squabble. Squabble. They got into a squabble, and this dude named Fred Trump from Queens was arrested, and then he was released. So I thought that was interesting, because Trump is from Queens. His folks is from Queens. So I'm saying they gotta be his daddy. And why? And that's interesting. Like, and then why is it the time traveler thing must be real? Because of all the people they could have mentioned in that article, the guy that knows the Klan versus police, they mentioned this one dude named Fred Trump. Interesting, from Queens. And I believe Trump's grandfather, if not mistaken, he ran a hotel business. Maybe he was a pimp. I don't know. Like Robert Church thing. It could be Robert Church thing. Robert Church owned a lot of real estate. But also he was getting money out the cat house. Robert Church, the first black millionaire of the South. But they call him a real estate mogul, and they didn't call him no pimp. It's hard out here for, but no matter what they think about me. Okay. But anyway, I say all this to say, even Donald Trump had an uncle named John Trump, who was a brilliant scientist for the government. He was a long-time MIT professor. Donald Trump adored his uncle, John Trump. And also he was given the task by the federal government to look over the notebooks and journal of Nikola Tesla. Tesla, the great scientist, the great genius that, the praise that y'all give Thomas Edison should be going to Nikola Tesla. That guy that Elon Musk named his company after, that guy that was found dead in his hotel apartment back in January of 43. Was it January of 43? I don't know. But it's January 7, 1943. It was January somewhere in the 1940s, right? So they found him dead in his apartment, and then they confiscated his work. Journals, notebooks, whatever. They confiscated. The government did. And John Trump reviewed it for the government to see if there was anything that could be of use, or it could have been a threat, whatever. So that's who his uncle was, John Trump, and I believe his father helped, pay for his brother's education. So it was money well spent. So Trump is, interested in his background, but he couldn't help who he was born to. I mean, he can't help what he was born into. And when people talk about, with Trump, with the Central Park 5 thing, okay, he wrote an op-ed, but he was not in power. He did not put them guys in prison, or them young boys in prison. A lot of people in the public arena thought these guys was guilty. They trust the just us system, and he was one of them. He just happened to be a high-profile person who had money and resources to amplify his voice through an op-ed, a well-placed op-ed, and people still hold that against him when, you still had people like Donald Trump may be the most rapped about person in hip-hop music. He was very popular among black people back in the day. I mean, he's from Queens, like 50 Cent, Run DMC, LL Cool J. And like them, he has a gift for gab. Nicki Minaj, they all from Queens. Mobb Deep, Nas from Queens. So Donald Trump know how to use his mouthpiece. He's about that bling, bling, bling. So I mean, he's the ultimate, one of the ultimate symbols of power and prestige back in that day, Trump Tower and everything like that. And the only rapper I can remember really critiquing Trump during that era back in the 90s was Tupac. The one that people want to crap on today, which is interesting. Like Tupac wasn't masculine enough, and he shot 2 cops for a black dude he didn't know and got away with it. What other rapper has done that? Y'all want to talk about he's a fan? I mean, look, he's an artist. He was a rapper, great rapper, lyricist, poet, actor. He was a Renaissance man, and he was in tune with who he was. I don't think he was lost. I think he was very much in tune. He understood his assignment. He overstood the assignment, and he left. Mission accomplished. Whatever we might think, oh, he threw himself away, and he already knew the plan for him. He was committed to the role to the end. And that's why we still talk about Tupac. But he was the only artist or rapper I can remember being critical of Trump in a way. It wasn't even about Trump per se. It's about the stuff he symbolized. No, he's a status symbol. So Tupac was attacking or critiquing not the man, but the status symbol or what the media was marketing of the Trump thing. But Trump did a lot of things for black people. I could name one of Central Park 5, but they'll never talk about how he stood up for Mike Tyson when he was found guilty of the rape allegations. How he stood 10 toes down for Mike Tyson. That's why Mike Tyson can't talk bad about the man, because he remember when everybody basically was canceling him for the internet. They're trying to cancel Mike Tyson. You got Donald Trump on David Letterman show, a big time national program, millions of people watching. David Letterman was trying to throw Mike Tyson, or was throwing Mike Tyson under the bus. And Donald Trump said, hold up, wait a minute. And Trump went hard in the paint for Mike Tyson. That clip is on the social media streets. So for everything with Central Park 5, also talk about how Trump stood 10 toes down for Mike Tyson and also put money in Tyson's pocket. And Don King, whatever you think about Don King, he's been consistently riding hard for Donald Trump. He's been consistent. And Al Sharpton say what he say, but when he was the Fat Albert version of Al Sharpton, he's in pictures with Donald Trump and Don King and other people. Donald Trump was on Method Man's Judgment Day album in the skit, talking about we at the party waiting for your release. That's Donald Trump from 98. Yet we have a memory hole when it comes to remember when people used to love Donald Trump. And people used to love Donald Trump 10 years ago. So that's the media marketing, because the same media apparatus that would have you loving a Trump back then but hating Trump now, which is crazy, let you know how powerful the media is, let you know you shouldn't even be watching this stuff 24/7. You should be listening just to CNN or just to MSNBC or just to Fox News. You should not just be listening to that stuff all day, every day. I think what would be better is just to get out and engage people and see what people at mentally. I know my mom and my sister went to Europe. They went to London and Paris for their birthday right before the Olympics. And they were telling me how they had these interesting conversations about American politics with the Uber driver or with people in the city. And like I said, it's good to know how they see us. Because y'all on the outside of this American bubble where they feed us a lot of misinformation and disinformation, but to get a perspective from citizens of the world on how they view America, because their media apparatus, some of them do the same Operation Mockingbird tricks. What I mean by Operation Mockingbird, I mean how the CIA has manipulated the information in industrial complex, the info industrial complex. They have controlled the major so-called traditional media outlets as well as Hollywood. Not only the CIA, but the Defense Intelligence Agency, the shadow government of the Defense Department. They have put their tentacles in all the media apparatuses. That's why Malcolm X and Richard Nixon try to warn us about the unchecked power of the media. And y'all just drinking this stuff up like Jim Jones Kool-Aid about Trump and Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was missing in action not only in the media spotlight, but also at the border. We got these sanctuary cities. Now, all eyes on Chicago. I believe the spirit of 64 and 68 will be in Chicago during the Democratic National Convention that week. Black Americans, Black made Americans are going to stand up and show out in Chicago, that Tyler town. Chicago is an amazing city. It's a beautiful city, a lot of history, a lot of richness. Not just downtown Chicago. I'm from Bronzeville, Inglewood. I'm talking about even the outside, Maywood. Amazing history. I can see why my people and your people moved there. They thought it was the promised land, and it still looks good, but they trying to give it away, y'all. They trying to give all this away to everybody but black people. It was a black man that found in Chicago. It's a black man that found in San Francisco. They took their lands and utilized it for what is now known as San Francisco. So we don't know, like a lot of them people, black folks get discriminated against Los Angeles County. A lot of the land that's called Los Angeles was owned by black people. So even Memphis, we had a lot of land owned by black people in Shelby County. So they don't talk about the stuff that they did to us, and we got to remember, or remember, or exhume, resurrect this stuff, and that thing gonna be crazy. The Democratic National Convention week in Chicago. I think black folks gonna show out because black folks gave Trump, from what I could tell, a warm welcome. It's black folks that are gonna escape from the Democratic plantation this time around, and they're gonna vote red. They're gonna vote for Trump. If Trump get 20 to 21% of the black vote, it's a wrap for the Democrats. No matter how much they try to steal this time, because they both sides steal. I mean, 2000 Al Gore won, 2004 John Kerry might have won. 2020 Trump definitely won. They ain't gonna never tell me different. And it's gonna be interesting how it goes down this fall if we have an election. That's in the air. There's so much stuff going on. Like I said, we are in World War III right now, but they're not really talking about it, and they're not really trying to educate us about what's really going on. But these times are crazy right now. We're in some crazy times. But if Trump could get 20% of the black vote, it's a wrap for the Democrats. And all the Democratic Party got to do, if they really want to keep the White House legitimately, if they want to really legitimately keep the White House, they can do two things: give black Americans, black made Americans reparations. I say black made Americans. Some people say Native Americans, because black people are Native Americans. That's another story. I'm not getting all that, But FBA, Foundation of Black Americans, American Descendants of Slaves, they actually cut us a check. I don't want to hear about no college. Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, they didn't go to no college. John D. Rockefeller didn't go to no college. They had resources. They had people investing their ideas and their dreams, so they were able to manifest. They had a work ethic. They need to go to college, do what they did. Elon Musk didn't go to college. Government gives him billions of dollars. See, people always talking about Elon Musk is this. Elon Musk he's one of the kings. He's a corporate welfare king. Like, he got a supercomputer they building in Memphis, getting all types of tax breaks and sweetheart deals and stuff, while people in Memphis can't afford bread, light bill, gas, rent. LLCs are coming up, buying up all these housing properties. Folks who want to be first-time home buyers can't buy a home because the LLCs are converting these properties into rental properties, and they're raising the rent, which means raising the cost of living, but not raising the wages to compensate for the raise in living costs. So make you want to holler the way they do your life? Does it make you want to holler the way they do your life? So this is where we at right now. This is where we at right now. And for y'all to think that Kamala Harris is like, y'all got this, Kamala Harris, one of the reasons why I think they stopped showing how many dislikes were on YouTube videos was because of the number of dislikes that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden was getting on these YouTube videos. Like the Breakfast Club interview, I remember before they start hiding the likes and dislikes anyway, Kamala Harris had more dislikes on her Breakfast Club interview than she had likes at the time. When she went on the Breakfast Club, I believe it was back in 2018, she had more dislikes at one point than likes. I don't know what it is now because they had the dislikes. Biden had the same issue. I mean, they didn't. Kamala Harris is the ultimate DEI hire. Diversity, equality, inclusion, whatever. She's the presumed People believe she's going to be the Democratic nominee for president. Did not win one primary. When she became the vice president nominee, did not win one primary. Did not win one primary, and did not win one primary this time around. Was hiding in the shadows all this time. It's like she remind me of that Julia Louis-Dreyfus show, Veep, V-E-P-P, V-E-E-P, Veep, like vice president. The show that used to come on HBO. It's a pretty good series. Talk about Julia Louis-Dreyfus being a vice president and trying to, get her turn as the president. I believe they were preparing us for Kamala Harris. It's called predictive programming, right? So Kamala, I just can't take her serious. I just, the laughing, inappropriate moments, like she's so like not comfortable in her body, not being authentic. And y'all can say, people, y'all misogynistic, chauvinistic. Y'all can't stand women bosses. It's not even that. It's the fact that she's not committed to a role. She tried to be everything to everybody instead of just being, I guess, her. Or maybe that is her. I don't know. But it's like she's a chameleon. She's a political, cultural chameleon. She's black when it's convenient. She's Indian when it's convenient. She's whatever you want to be. It's kind of like Trump people said Trump was wrong for calling her out. He wasn't wrong. He told the truth. He called it like he see it. He walk it like he talk it. So look, first he knew her as an Indian, Asian American, then she's black now. But he said he didn't have no problem with it. But what's she gonna be? What role she gonna commit to? Because one thing about Trump, you call him what you want to call him. But he is true to thy own self be true. He's authentically himself. Or Dave Chappelle would say he was an honest liar. He's the most honest. Trump, the way he talks in public, you see him talking like that in private. He don't pull his punches. He don't apologize. He show up as himself. And for people not to even give him credit for showing up in a hostile environment, like the National Association of Black Journalists, the way that woman from ABC treated the man disrespectfully, if that was even Joe Biden, I wouldn't did Joe Biden the way she did Donald Trump. Because, I don't hate none of these people. I don't hate no Kamala. I think it's hilarious to make fun of her and stuff. I think it's ironic that the black people want to give her a pass when she's not. She married a white man, a white Jewish man, but she put a lot of black men in prison. Whatever the number may be, she utilized black people pain to advance in her career. She allowed One West Bank to illegally foreclose, from my understanding, on the homes of black folk. And she became, she was top cop in California, U.S. Senator, vice president, and maybe possibly president of the United States. Who knows what they're going to do? People say, well, Georgia back in play. The fact that Democrats don't respect black people, that's a problem to me. It's like, I'm a Meg Thee Stallion fan, but for us to be, so the Democratic Party had Meg Thee Stallion twerking, but the Republicans had Amber Rose speaking. One is to appeal to your emotions and your carnal sense. The other one was appealing to your intellect and common sense. Whatever you think about Amber Rose, I respect her for doing what she did and for taking, the social media backlash, for doing what she's doing. We need more people like her right now. It's not about the Republicans. It's not about Trump. It's about doing something different so you can get a different result. Because voting Democrat ain't gonna never give you the reparations. It's not gonna give us the reparations that so-called black made Americans want. We're not gonna get that by doing the same things over and over again. And like I said, think about what I'm saying. Black made Americans are the only group of people that's vote shame. Every cycle we are vote shame. And yet we got potholes in our communities, dilapidated schools in our community, yet you got migrants, immigrants, aliens, whatever, getting EBT, getting cash, getting cash money, getting food stamps, getting rent paid. And my people been over here since the beginning of this republic, and we can't get no support like that. As an insult to our intelligence, where you gonna have Meg Thee Stallion twerking her ass in front of us instead of giving us some real assets that we could build generational wealth. You're gonna have her twerking her ass to my vote for Harris. Hotties for Harris. No, it's not. No. I remember when Hillary Clinton. This is how pathetic these people are. How disingenuous and pathetic these people are. I remember Hillary Clinton when she was running in 2016, and she had a concert in Ohio, because that's a swing state that she was trying to win, whatever was a key swing state. And she had a concert. I believe LeBron James was involved. And LeBron James, he's a hometown hero, right? A home state hero or hero. Had Jay-Z and Beyonce do a concert. I guess she was trying to get the black urban hip vote. So disrespectful. So disrespectful. I have no problem with this. Has always been part of the political scene. I have no problem with entertainers doing what they do best, which is to entertain. But I don't take my talking points from Meg Thee Stallion twerking, or Beyonce shaking, or Jay-Z rapping, LeBron James shooting the basketball. I don't get political advice from court jesters, entertainers, bread and circus people. No disrespect to them, but they know their place. And you know good well that they are so far removed from where a lot of us are struggling right now. I don't think Jay-Z and them go to Whole Foods to shop. It's like when Bill Clinton was going against Bush back in 92. You know, he had Ross Perot. Ross Perot got about 18, 20% of the popular vote. Well, people don't understand, if Ross Perot, right? Big ear dude, white guy from Texas, billionaire. I think he was a billionaire. Interesting. He had the third party option. He got like 18 to 20% of the popular vote back in 92. Because Bill Clinton did not get 50%. He got in the 40s. If Ross Perot was not in the race, George H.W. Bush would have won a second term. That's how powerful getting that 18 to 20% of the popular vote is. And what I'm trying to say, even now, that's how powerful the black vote is. It's not the Latino vote. Stop saying brown and black. It's the black vote. If the Democrats can get over 90% of the black vote, they through. If they get less than 90%, they get only 80%, they through. So black people, we could play this the way we need to play it. I ain't talking about black immigrants. I ain't talking about first generation black Americans. I'm talking about the people that came from the soil. See, to me, if you have a black president, a real one, he got to be like a Marion Barry. He got to come out of Independent, Mississippi, raised up in Memphis, mayor of D.C., went through the struggle, chairman of SNCC, stuff like that. We don't have, like Colin Powell, he's Jamaican, man. Jamaican. His folks Jamaican. Kamala Harris, Indian, Jamaican, Irish, whatever, Hindu. Ain't black like me. Ain't black. Even Harry Belafonte, he Caribbean stop, right? Sidney Poitier. Nothing wrong with that. They can't, but they know him. But Sidney Poitier, and to a great degree, Harry Belafonte was committed to the struggle, to the movement, to the righteous struggle, right? What I'm saying is, even look at the entertainers. Look at black entertainers. I'm not Amanda Seales. She's not black made American, right? Amanda Seales. Then Issa Rae, she's not black made American. Even Stephen Fetchit, he was from the islands. And these folks play a part in how black people are viewed, black made Americans are viewed, and how our image is projected throughout the world, throughout the diaspora, throughout the world. So, Tyler Perry from New Orleans, ain't it? Okay, black made American. But the thing about it is that it's an insult. Even Shirley Chisholm, I don't think she a black made American like that. Y'all always don't talk about some Shirley Chisholm when y'all should be talking about Adam Clayton Powell Jr. It ain't Shirley Chisholm. Even Shirley Chisholm knew who was the real GOAT. It wasn't her. It was no disrespect to the sister. It was no Barbara Jordan, no disrespect to her. It was Adam Clayton Powell Jr. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest congressperson that black America sent to Congress, and he got the job done. They reversed a lot of things he did for black people, which in turn helped not only black people, but helped America. He really was the visionary behind Lyndon B. Johnson's Great Society program. He helped get the legislation passed to create the National Endowment for the Arts. He helped create the affirmative action, which should have been to help black made Americans get ahead, not everybody else, including white women, get ahead. That type of stuff. And we don't even know about them. We forget about these greats, these titans. You understand? Now, there's a statue of Adam Clayton Powell Jr. up in Harlem. He was a congressman a long time, first Democratic elected black person in Congress. George White was the last black person in Congress at the beginning of the 20th century. He left office after 1901. And it took to, like, I believe 1928 with Oscar the Priest from Chicago, with the help of people like Ida B. Wells Barnett, who was who lived in Chicago. He became the first black person to be elected to Congress in the 20th century. I think this is back in 1928. Oscar the Priest was a Republican, but I believe that Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who was a reverend in one of the largest churches in America, Abyssinia Church up in Harlem, he was the first prominent black elected official of the Democratic Party. And he was doing stuff in the 30s that Dr. King and them was doing in the 50s. He was already doing bus boycotts, economic boycotts, stuff like that up in New York, getting these white Jewish businesses in Harlem to hire black people, try to, even out the rent situation in Harlem. He was already doing all that. This is back in the 30s, because Adam Clayton Powell Jr. was born in 1908. And I bring up Adam Clayton Powell Jr. because I looked at him in contrast, compare and contrast him to Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, I don't know where y'all coming from. Like, y'all black folks are so devoted to get her into the White House. And why they trying to kick her out your house, why they trying to kick you out your house, you devoting in this woman into the White House, this mixed race woman who allowed a bank to exploit and prey on black homeowners in California when she was the top cop. Look all this stuff up. I'm not interested in no Kamala Harris. And it's not personal. I just don't care. I don't really, it don't make a difference how she got to where she got. To me, she didn't come from us. She's not like us. She didn't come. Adam Clayton Powell Jr., the reason why I bring him up is because look at pictures of Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Let me see. Let me do this. I don't understand something. All these weird, like Sean King. I don't know. I think he white, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think he white. Rachel Dolezal went to Howard. She was white woman passed for black, but she was blacker than Kamala, though. She actually was, it's a shame she wasn't actually black, because she really was black. Oh, man. But I'll try to show y'all something. I'm trying to show y'all something. This is We All Be, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. We all be. Baby. We teaching tonight, man. I'm looking at it, but y'all go on We All Be, rumble.com, WeAllBeTV. Sign up for that. We need 100 subscribers. I'm actually going to privatize this WeAllBeTV YouTube channel with this. Probably it gets the most hit, but it's, it constantly penalizing me. Do something. Show y'all something. You're going to learn something tonight. It's fascinating. Now, that's Adam Clayton Powell Jr., the greatest congressman or black congressperson in the history of America. Got the job done. They ran him out of Congress and replaced him with Charlie Rangel, of all people. I call him Mr. Blackula Pringles. Mr. Pringles. Mr. Pringles. He's a greasy dude. Charlie Rangel. They replaced him with Charlie Rangel. That's what they do. But you look at him, right? What the hell is he? It's a great question. For a moment, when he was a young man, Adam Clayton Powell Jr. was going to school, college, I believe. He was passing for white. Going to college outside of New York City. He was passing for white. He was dating like prominent white people, daughters and stuff in college. And then one day he was confronted by his black people. They said, "Hey, Adam, what the hell are you doing? You don't want to be us, man? You ashamed of us, Adam? You passing for white? What's going on?" He said, "Oh, yeah." He straightened up then. Adam Clayton Powell Jr. straightened up and flew right. His folks, his dad is from Virginia. His daddy was the pastor of Abyssinia Church up in Harlem. in the largest church in the country, one of the largest churches in the country, a mega church. When he was confronted by black people, he stopped doing that BS. He said, I'm gonna be black. I'm gonna claim black. I'm gonna own up to being a black man. They said that Adam Clayton Powell Jr., when he became a very powerful congressman, he'll be at events and they'll say he'll try to find the darkest person in the room and give him a hug. He'll try to find the darkest person that he could hug and embrace and recognize. That's how committed he was to being black. And he could have easily passed as a white man for all his life. His life would have been much easier as a white man. But he wanted to be a black man. He gave them white folks hell in Congress because he was showing them how hypocritical they were. Adam Clayton Powell Jr., he was a very popular minister, brilliant orator, charismatic, came from money, from wealth, was known to drag his Jaguar down DC streets in the powder blue Jaguar, I believe he had, DC streets. But he would confront these Southern hypocrites in Congress, and he would confront the media. He would say, look, he was a womanizer. Al Clayton Powell Jr. had some fine women, boy. He had fine wives. One wife he had was a very talented, beautiful woman named Hazel Scott. I think she was like the first black woman or black person to get a TV show in America. One of the first TV shows for black people. She was Hazel Scott, brilliant pianist, entertainer, civil rights activist. She was a wife of Adam Clayton Powell Jr., one of his wives. But he had mistresses and stuff like that. He would take them on trips overseas and stuff like that. And thing I love about him, he didn't hide it. He was very transparent. He was like, y'all attacking me. Well, these folks are taking advantage of the taxpayers' dime and try to hide the evidence. At least I'm honest about what I do. He loved women, he loved power, but he loved his people. And so we don't talk about Adam Clayton Powell Jr. like we should. Dick Gregory was good friends with Adam Clayton Powell Jr. He was good friends with Malcolm X and Adam Clayton Powell Jr. And I had a chance to talk to Baba Dick Gregory about Adam Clayton Powell Jr. He said he was a great man. He was different, man. He played it his way. It's kind of like Barry Bonds. He was great at what he did, but he alienated a lot of them people, man. He rubbed a lot of these people the wrong way. So what's interesting about him, both him and Dr. King were sons of prominent ministers who had to go their own way. They had to go on. They couldn't be like their fathers. They had to do it a different way. And they both died on April the 4th. Dr. King died April 4th, 1968. Adam Clayton Powell Jr. died April 4th, 1972. I don't know that. I think they were both alphas. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm talking about the frat. But anyway, to me, he is the standard of what can be done. Not even President Obama, who was afraid of his black shadow, but Adam Clayton Powell Jr. is the standard for a real black politician that advocates for black-made Americans look like. And I'm going to do this. I want to read some of his accomplishments. And so you don't tell me about no Kamala Harris. This is the greatest black Democrat of all time. I like him and Marion Barry. They got the job done. Maynard Jackson. These are the people, old school black leaders in politics, but they was not the leaders. They represent the interests of the people who sent them there. See, we don't see the problem. I don't have a problem with voting per se. Well, we need to start doing what Dr. Clyde Anderson always talk about. You got to buy your politicians. You gotta vet your politicians. You got to finance the campaign. Because when we make the mistake is that we think the people that are in these state houses and in Congress, these politicians that get voted in, we think that they got to answer to us when they don't answer to us. They answer to the people, or rather they answer to the people who signed them big checks that don't bounce. Whoever financed their campaign are the real puppet masters. It's not the everyday folk who don't vote, who's not involved in the political process. People say, are they all related? We all related. We all kissing cousins. We all related. Like all the presidents related. I bet I bet a lot of y'all, it's a lot of black folks named Washington and Jackson and stuff and Taylor. You got some black candidates. So I mean, and we all related, really. You know, you think about even Donald Trump and Hillary, they cousins. They're 19th cousins. I think the common ancestor King Edward the Third, I believe, something like that. One of the King English royalty. You know, they 19th cousins. You know, Bill Clinton and Hillary went to Donald Trump's wedding to Melania back in 2005. Donald Trump wanted to go to Chelsea Clinton's wedding in 2010 or 2009 or something like that, but he wasn't invited. He tried to get in, but he couldn't. He didn't want to crash it. Let me see. I'm trying to look up his accomplishments. I'm trying to look him up. Let me look up political career. But yeah, we gotta do a study of who we are as a people, man. It's very important. Like Adam Clayton Powell Jr., one of my favorite political figures of all time. Okay, let me read something great. Charles V. Hamilton, great historian. We just lost him last year. Wrote a great biography on Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Here was a person who, in the 1940s, would at least speak out. That would be different. Many Negroes were angry that no Northern liberals would get up on the floor of Congress and challenge the segregationists. Powell certainly promised to do that. In the 1940s and the 50s, he was indeed virtually alone, and precisely because of that, he was exceptionally crucial. In many instances during those earlier times, if he did not speak out, the issue would not have been raised. For example, only he could or would dare to challenge Congressman Rankin of Mississippi on the House floor in the 1940s for using the word "nagger." He certainly did not change Rankin's mind or behavior, but he gave solace to millions who longed for a little retaliatory defiance. Powell was banned from the White House after calling President Truman's wife, Bess Truman, the last lady of the land, because she attended a reception for the Daughters of the American Revolution after the organization had refused to allow the black pianist Hazel Scott, Powell's wife, to perform at the Daughters of the American Revolution Constitution Hall. And Truman's attendance was seen as an endorsement of this racism. As one of only two black congressmen, the other being William Levi Dawson of Chicago, of course, until 1955, Powell challenged the informal ban on black representatives using Capitol facilities, previously reserved for white members. He took black constituents to dine with him in the whites' only house restaurant. He clashed with the many segregationists from the South in his party. That's the Democratic Party, the Democratic Party. Let me see. Yeah, I'm going to keep on reading this. Said Powell worked closely with Clarence Mitchell Jr., the representative of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in Washington, D.C., to try to gain justice in federal programs. Biographer Hamilton described the NAACP as the quarterback that threw the ball to Powell, who, to his credit, was more than happy to catch and run with it. He developed a strategy known as the Powell Amendments. On bill after bill that proposed federal expenditures, Powell would offer our customary amendment requiring that federal funds be denied to any jurisdiction that maintains segregation. Liberals will be embarrassed. Southern politicians angered. This principle would later become integrated into Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of '64. Powell was also willing to act independently. In 1956, he broke Democratic Party ranks and supported President Dwight D. Eisenhower for re-election, saying the civil rights plank in the Democratic Party platform was too weak. In 1958, he survived a determined effort by the Tammany Hall Democratic Party machine in New York to oust him in the primary election. In 1960, Powell, hearing the planned civil rights marches at the Democratic Convention, which could embarrass the party of candidate, threatened to accuse Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. of having a homosexual relationship with Bayard Rustin unless the marches were canceled. Rustin, one of King's political advisors, was an openly gay man. King agreed to cancel the planned events, and Rustin resigned from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. In 1961, after 15 years in Congress, Powell advanced to chairman of the powerful United States House Committee on Education and Labor. In this position, he presided over federal social programs for minimum wage and Medicaid, established later under Lyndon B. Johnson. He expanded the minimum wage to include retail workers and worked for equal pay for women. He supported education and training for the deaf, nursing education and vocational training. He led legislation for standards for wages and work hours, as well as for the aid for elementary and secondary education and school libraries. Powell's committee proved extremely effective in enacting major parts of President Kennedy's New Frontier and President Johnson's Great Society social programs and the war on poverty. It successfully reported to Congress 49 pieces of bedrock legislation, as President Johnson put it in a May 18, 1966 letter congratulating Powell on the 5th anniversary of his chairmanship. Powell was instrumental in passing legislation that made lynching a federal crime, as well as bills that desegregated public schools. He challenged the Southern practice of charging blacks a poll tax to vote. Poll taxes for federal elections were prohibited by the 24th Amendment, passed in '64. Voter registration and electoral practices were not changed substantially in most of the South until after the passage of the Voting Rights Act of '65, which provided federal oversight of voter registration and elections and enforcement of the constitutional right to vote. In some areas where discrimination was severe, such as Mississippi, it took years for African Americans to register and vote in numbers related to their proportion in the population, but they have since maintained a high rate of registration and voting. Okay. And some political, so much I can read. This man is amazing. Like, they basically Donald Trump, Adam Clayton Powell Jr. at the end. He was too black and bold and beautiful. He could not be controlled by the white power structure. They were very much afraid of Adam Clayton Powell Jr. I mean, he might have looked white, but he was most definitely black on the inside. Very militant. So read about political controversy. By the mid-1960s, Powell was increasingly being criticized for mismanaging his committee's budget, taking trips abroad at the public expense, and missing meetings of his committee. When under scrutiny by the press and other members of Congress for personal conduct, he had taken 2 young women at government expense with him on overseas travel. He responded, "I wish to state very emphatically that I will always do just what every other congressman and committee chairman has done and is doing and will do." So Adam Clayton Powell was not a hypocrite. He owned his stuff. He owned it, baby. Keep the faith, baby, though. He said, keep the faith, baby. Opponents led criticism in his district where his refusal to pay a 1963 slander judgment in the amount of $150,000 made him subject to arrest. He also spent increasing amounts of time in Florida. Okay. I just want to read on him because I think it's very important, because this is the standard to me of black excellence in the political arena. We got nobody to come close to Adam Clayton Powell Jr. And we just lost Sheila Jackson Lee. And y'all can't name one piece of legislation that's, no disrespect to Sheila Jackson Lee, but she didn't get the job done. She didn't do anything. I met Sheila Jackson Lee last year, and she was a nice lady. She was cool. We took selfies and stuff like that, but she never did. I can't remember one piece of legislation. Lyndon B. Johnson said he had 49 pieces of legislation, bedrock legislation under Adam Clayton Powell Jr. He took his job seriously. He worked hard and played hard. He was the chairman of the United States House Committee on Education and Labor, and he did what he's supposed to do. He took it from the streets to the suites. In the 30s and stuff, he was boycotting the bus boycotts and economic boycotts, and he took it into the halls of Congress to pass effective legislation, because he also helped give the seed money for the National Endowment of the Arts, and he also helped start what was known as Affirmative Action, which did not continue on the mission that it was originally intended for, which was to help Black made Americans get ahead who were who descended from enslaved people. It wasn't meant to help everybody but Black people, Black made America. It wasn't meant just to help immigrants and white women and anybody else. And it is what it is. But they take stuff that's not meant for them, and they use it for something else. I remember, this is not America, but I remember reading about like Haile Selassie, the Emperor Ethiopia, Haile Selassie, Rastafarian religion. That Haile Selassie, he was so indebted to Black made Americans who volunteered to fight for Ethiopia against Italy back in the 30s. You know, he had Black Americans that risked their lives to go to the motherland to fight on behalf of Emperor Haile Selassie to protect Ethiopia from the colonizers. Ethiopia is the only country in Africa that was never colonized by the Europeans. Ethiopia is where the world's oldest Bible is from. The world's oldest Bible comes from Ethiopia. Many believe that the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. And many people believe Haile Selassie is, you know, related to Jesus. And that's another story. But anyway, as a sign of appreciation, he was so appreciative of the Black Americans, Black made Americans, who went and put their lives on the line for Ethiopia, that he had allotted a significant amount of land for Black made Americans to come to Ethiopia to live off of. That land was for Black made Americans who fought in, you know, Ethiopia's war against Italy. And guess who ended up claiming it? Jamaicans. No disrespect. It's like, I think it was payback when Lyles won the gold medal. So y'all been eating off of us, man. No disrespect to the Jamaicans. One love, bumper clock, one love. But y'all took land in Ethiopia that was meant for Black made Americans for FBA $8. And they settled on that land. It really was meant for us. See, we don't know this. Let's look that up. Take a look. It's all online. Just look it up, right? I'm just putting it out there. Marcus Garvey was made by us. You know, he came from Jamaica, but he had to come here to be made. Black made Americans supported Marcus Garvey. Jamaicans didn't support Garvey like that. Anyway, that's why he had to leave. Anyway, what can I say about it? This man is amazing, man. Let's see. Powell also paid attention to the issues of developing nations in Africa and Asia, making trips overseas. He urged presidential policymakers to pay attention to nations seeking independence from colonial powers and support aid to them. During the Cold War, many of them sought neutrality between the United States and the Soviet Union. He made speeches on the House floor to celebrate the anniversaries of the independence of nations such as Ghana, Indonesia, and Sierra Leone. In 1955, against the State Department's advice, Powell attended the Asian African Conference in Bandung, Indonesia, as an observer. He made a positive international impression in public addresses that balanced his concerns of his nation's race relations problems with a spirited defense of the United States as a whole against communist criticism. Powell returned to the United States to a warm bipartisan reception for his performance, and he was invited to meet with President Dwight D. Eisenhower. So the president of his own party banned him from the White House. And I was thinking about with Harry Truman. And Harry Truman was the president who desegregated the armed forces after they was resegregated by Woodrow Wilson, a Democrat that was voted in by Black people. And I bring up Woodrow Wilson because I remember reading about the great William Monroe Trotter, one of the co-founders of the NAACP and founder and the brilliant journalist behind The Guardian that was out of Boston. He was a supporter of Woodrow Wilson, along with a lot of other Black leaders like Ida B. Wells and W.E.B. Du Bois. And they was very disenchanted when he came into power, kind of how Biden had that Zoom call conference, told them so-called Black leaders, he ain't doing nothing for Black folks. You know, go get behind the brown people, but the Hispanics in the line of who gets privilege, right? We're going to show them in 2024, though. And William Monroe Trotter was Harvard University's first Black Phi Beta Kappa. He was brilliant intellect. He confronted Woodrow Wilson in the White House and called him out for being a hypocrite. And Woodrow Wilson said, "I don't like your tone." He said something. And Woodrow Wilson was a son of the South from Virginia. Also, he was governor of New Jersey at one point, and also he was over Princeton University in New Jersey. So he was well educated. You know, his college classmate was Thomas Dixon, who wrote the book The Klansman, which was the foundation for the movie Birth of a Nation, which led to the resurrection of the Klan. The same movie that Woodrow Wilson screened in the White House and said it was right. It was like writing history with lightning. That Woodrow Wilson, the one who resegregated the federal government. Y'all talking about Project 2025. He resegregated the federal government. A whole bunch of black folks lost their jobs on Woodrow Wilson. The black vote did that. Y'all talking about some Project 2025. Police been had immunity in this country. The government been screwing black people over in this country since the beginning of this republic. So we got to stop being so hysterical about the BS. But anyway, the same party that banned William Monroe Trotter from the White House is the same one that banned Adam Clayton Powell Jr. from the White House because Truman had thin skin. But yet he was able to cross party lines to get in good with Dwight D. Eisenhower, and he got in good with Lyndon B. Johnson with the party again. When he passed all that key bedrock legislation that Lyndon B. Johnson talked about that formed the backbone of his Great Society program. And the way they utilize it, that's a different story. See, my thing is, this to me is real black excellence. Like, you know, even he called out Bayard Rustin, and really he should have spoke at the march in Washington, but they blackballed him. They blackballed Representative Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who was the most powerful black man in America. You know, Dr. King didn't have the power of Adam Clayton Powell Jr. had as a legislator. Very powerful congressperson, no matter what color he was. We don't have that. Where is our Adam Clayton Powell Jr. today? We don't have, and I didn't read everything that he did. I just read a little bit of his amazing life and career. And like I said, look at him. Look at him. He could have just lived as a white man and been good. You know, he could have took out on women on those European vacations. They wouldn't have said nothing. Them white congressmen wouldn't let him alone. Oh, Adam, you're a good old boy. You just like us, Adam. You're a good old boy. And think about it, he was doing this at a time was only 2 black people in Congress, him and a guy from Chicago, the Dawson guy. So there you go. I ain't gonna stay on here too long, but so don't tell me about no Kamala Harris. This is the best the Democratic Party ever gave us. Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Can you imagine somebody with that type of purpose-driven life being president of the United States? Like how he focused in on black people problems, and by him helping with alleviating black people problems, that helped the nation in general. Because when you take care of us, you're taking care of the whole nation. Because we shift the paradigm. So Democrats need to be panicking. You know, people talking about Trump is nervous. Why is Trump nervous? He don't have nothing to lose. Well, this thing is his to lose. But he's not nervous. He game set ready. Kamala was the one they want to come to the National Association of Black Journalists convention. They said you could do a Zoom call in the fall. They told her she could do a Zoom call. Trump came in there, big bad wolf that he is, because Trump really is Jack Johnson. Trump was like Daniels in the Lions Den. He like Daniel in the Lions Den at the NABJ in Chicago. But he know he needs Illinois, and black folks know that we need a champion. Because we can't get it among our own ranks. I mean, I can't think of any black person nationally. I can't think of no black person at the local, state, or national level doing anything on a level of commitment as Adam Clayton Powell Jr. You know, let's get back to the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. Even though, let me see how many delegates it was able to get seated at the 64th convention. Because they challenged the traditional Democratic convention on delegates from Mississippi, right? Let's see what their legacy is. You know what's interesting? Mississippi became the state with the most elected black officials. I think that's still true, but you got more elected black officials in Mississippi than any state in the union. It was true for one point, not that if it's not true now, but they came at a price, right? Fannie Lou Hamer, thank God for them. Ella Baker, Lawrence Guyot, I think Guyot or Guyot. See. Though the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party failed to unseat the regulars at the convention, they did succeed in publicizing the violence and injustice by which the white power structure governed Mississippi and disenfranchised black citizens. The dramatic elements of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party and its convention challenge eventually helped gain congressional passage of the Voting Rights Act of 65. See, that's when we used to organize and protest. See, they they ain't coming there. They didn't ask for a permit to be at the Democratic Convention back in 64. They had a mandate from the people, from we the people, to try to represent us the best they knew how. See, we don't even have that type of movement. I'm talking about earlier about the message to the grassroots, about the big six of the civil rights movement, which were controlled by the government and other special interest entities. I think about the Mike Brown situation that happened in Ferguson, Missouri back in 2014 and the birth of the Black Lives Matter movement. And guess who really financed that? The boogeyman of geopolitical politics, George Soros. He was the puppet master behind the Black Lives Matter movement in Ferguson, Missouri. They say he put about almost $40 million into controlling the narrative and controlling certain people, putting them in place in the Ferguson, Mike Brown, Just Us movement back in the summer of 2014. You think about the different personalities and stuff that came out of that movement. Yeah, see, it's a tale of two Black Lives Matter movement. See, what we do, we throw away the baby with the bathwater. You had a sincere movement of grassroots-oriented people that was known as the Black Lives Matter movement. Then you had the corporate movement, the LLC version of the Black Lives Matter grassroots movement that was engineered by the Soros, deep pockets. They selected leaders like, I remember D. Ray McKesson, the guy who used to wear the vest from Baltimore, the openly gay, I guess he was like the Bayard Rustin of the movement, openly gay dude who became a Twitter warrior. He would be posting about Ferguson, raising money, getting from my understanding, a lot of money from the cause, but he was not boots on the ground. He was not boots on the ground, according to some people. I'm gonna talk about this because why do you want to shut me up? You know, like everybody else get to have these big platforms and talk about this. I can't talk about it. Got worried about paying bills. But anyway, I'm gonna talk about it because I think it's fact. I was there in Ferguson. I ain't gonna never forget that stuff. And so D. Ray McKesson, there's a couple other people. They not big. Like it's some people that's still known. They got platform, and some people like they were big for their moment and they went. I mean, Cory Bush was able to get into Congress from that area based on being connected to that movement. They took care of Cory Bush. There's some other people as well too, but D. Ray McKesson is interesting because, you know, people were utilizing Twitter to report on the day-to-day, moment-to-moment movements in the Ferguson situation. You know, people utilized Twitter. Twitter was the go-to source to figure out what was going on in Ferguson, Missouri back in the summer of 2014. And D. Ray McKesson, you know, he became a spokesperson for that cause, but people were saying that he was more like a keyboard warrior, a keyboard social justice warrior, allegedly. I'm not saying I said that. That was the perception. But anyway, from my understanding, one of the grassroots leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement in Ferguson was a guy named Darren King D. Seals. He's a righteous ancestor, young black brother. Darren King D. Seals. He was a throwback. You know, if he was back in the 60s, he would have been probably involved in SNCC and the Black Panthers, Revolutionary Action Movement. He would have been part of that stuff. He was a brother that was committed to the soil, committed to helping black people elevate and rise. He was a young soldier out there in those streets, man. He was targeted by the government. He was targeted by law enforcement to the day he died after getting involved, to the level of commitment he was in. he was pissed off at people like D-Ray McKesson for he feel like they was like hijacking the cause to fill their pockets, allegedly. Like they was getting all the cause celeb. Meanwhile, you had real black activists in the streets, getting harassed, getting tear gas. Like they were using illegal tear gas chemicals that was outlawed by the Geneva Convention. This is during when President Obama was president, when Eric Holder was a black attorney general, and when you had a Democratic governor, Jay Nixon, who was the governor of Missouri. Y'all talking about some Trump and Project 2025. They using illegal chemicals on American citizens. You had pregnant people out there. They using all type of chemicals that was outlawed by the Geneva Convention on the watch of the black president. Don't tell me about no Trump and Project 2025 and police immunity. Nobody has been held accountable for the atrocities that were committed after Michael Brown was systemically lynched. And this is why this is why I do what I do. This is why it's important that no matter what they try to shut me down, that I talk about this stuff because it's very important. It's very pertinent to what's going on now. So Darren King D. Seals confronted D-Ray McKesson. I think it's D-Ray McKesson. And he either punch him or slap him, sucker punch him or slap him or something like that. And people saw it, had witnesses to it. And certain elements in the movement did not like Darren King D. Seals. Like I said, he was a throwback. Like he was a throwback to he was a Taurus like I am. I think his birthday was like April 29th. I don't know. It's like he's a Taurus. He's an April Taurus, I believe, or was. And he had that spirit of Malcolm, of a Stokely Carmichael. He had the charisma. He had the dreads. A lot of folks had dreads back then. And I thought that was an interesting observation because, like, to me, like a lot of black folks in that St. Louis area, they had them dreads and stuff. I think they was communicating with the ancestors. It was Black August. I think the Haitian Revolution, Bookman Duddy, all this. I think the ancestors was speaking through black folks through the dreads. But anyway, he was criticized by people. They'll try to call him homophobic, sexist, misogynistic, stuff like that on Twitter. He had so-called other activists that were involved trying to shame him or whatever because he was so outspoken. He called out the Black Lives Matter movement. He knew that what he was involved in was organic versus what the media was pushing wasn't organic. He probably didn't know what the money was behind it, but he knew something was sinister about it. So you had other activists attack him and stuff, trying to question his character and all this stuff. But like I know he was harassed to the day he died after being involved. And what happened to him was, I ain't gonna forget, like I think it was September 2016, they found him burned in a car. He was burned up in his car. His car was set on fire. I believe he was shot. He was burned up, unrecognizable in his car. Matter of fact, several activists and people connected to the Mike Brown Ferguson thing were found around St. Louis in burnt out cars. Black men. And even the night where the DA announced that they would not bring charges against Darren Wilson, grand jury did not indict him, whatever. One of Mike Brown's associates, I think somebody connected to Mike Brown, they had to think about it. You had law enforcement, you had all this media in Ferguson capturing the moment when the white dude said they're not gonna press charges against Darren Wilson. They're gonna let him walk. Right around the corner from where the world was, somebody was dead in a burnt out car that was connected to Mike Brown in that same vicinity. You mean you had law enforcement, you had all these people there, media there, they didn't catch that? Who was really killing them boys? And then you had a sister that was an activist involved. Her son was found hanging from a tree at her home. I don't know if he was in the backyard or front yard, but y'all can look this stuff up. It's online. But you got these people that got knocked off, found shot up, burned up in cars. One dude found hanging from a tree at his mama house who was very active in the movement. I don't hear no Corey Bush. I don't hear none of them, the so-called people who got platforms now. They're not even talking about this stuff. This is unresolved stuff from 2014. That's 10 years ago. This August, 10 years ago. I can't believe it's been 10 years ago. Ain't nobody held the government accountable for spraying illegal chemicals onto activists and people, citizens? Nothing. It's just like Katrina happened in August, right? Hurricane FEMA, Katrina. There are still black people missing from Hurricane FEMA, from Katrina. Still got black people missing, and nobody talks about it. Oh, whatever. That means that's why we're not respected now, because we don't have entities or representatives that really advocate for black made Americans, because we always getting skipped over. We never had a real black president. Obama wasn't a black like that. If he was black like that, because I believe Obama's daddy was Frank Marshall Davis. I don't believe it was the African. And before I go, let me just point that out. I'm gonna put a picture up here. Y'all tell me who is who. Y'all tell me who is who. I think it's hilarious. I'm an artist. I know it's a lot of people. I look like a lot of people, right? I look like a lot of people. Oh my God. Let me see if I found something. Whew. Lord. Truth is, like Cat Williams called it. This the year for truth to come out. Show this picture. Show y'all a couple pictures. So y'all understand what I'm talking about. Dick Gregory told me stuff, man. I said, man, I can't talk about this stuff. I ain't saying he told me this. He told me some other stuff that people, it's gonna be interesting what comes out about these people. People are weirdos. But here's the thing. All right, let's look at this. Y'all see that picture? See that dude right there close to me is Frank Marshall Davis. That's Barack Obama. That's his mama. And that's his so-called dad, Barack Obama Sr. Now, what I see is that when you take the picture of Frank Marshall Davis and his mama, and you get Obama. That's who I see. You get Obama. You get Barack Obama. That's who I see. I don't see the Kenyan in Barack Obama. I see Frank Marshall Davis, and I see the white lady, Ann Dunham, his mama. I see that. I believe Barack Obama talked about he had a mentor relationship with Frank Marshall Davis in his books, Dreams from My Father. Did he mention Frank Marshall Davis? Because at that time, he was living in Hawaii when Obama was there. And Frank Marshall Davis has an interesting background. I believe he was born in Kansas, but he, Atlanta, Chicago, two black meccas, Atlanta, Chicago, journalist, poet, involved in the Harlem Renaissance. I believe he was like a socialist. He was involved. He was a political activist and all that stuff, photographer. I believe they claim that he took nude photos of Obama's mom when she was a young woman. She posed for him allegedly. These are pictures floating around of her allegedly posing in the nude or partially nude or whatever. So you mean to tell me that Obama looked like the king? He don't look like the king to me. He looked like this black made American Frank Marshall Davis and this white girl with Kansas roots, Ann Dunham. He does not look like the king. And I'll show another picture. Because it is also a video of Frank Marshall Davis talking. And when you look at his mouth, his lips and stuff, this movement, how he move his mouth, it reminds me of Obama's, To me, that's me. I can't speak for nobody else but me. Let's see. I'm about to shut this now. Thank y'all for tuning out to tune in and get when you fit in. Trying to see. Is it? He said, Ron, you conspiracy theorist. Yeah, I am. There's something going on. There's something going on. Trying to see something. To me, that Obama look like him, man. Like cross between him and his mama. I'm looking at the mouth area, the lips, the nose. Yeah, that's him. That's his daddy. Because, you know, you can't, they both dead. Both men are dead because Obama's Kenyan daddy died in a car accident, I believe, was in the 80s. So, I don't know. Let's see another picture right quick. Yeah, I'm getting out of here. I'll read y'all comment section. Let's see. Look at the eyes, the nose. Look at the mouth. The mouth. You got to think about it. You look at his mom. Like, that's a perfect, like, the father, Frank Marshall Davis, and the mother, Ann Donald. You get Obama. I think that's his father. But there's a video, short footage of him getting interviewed about his experiences in being an activist. They're actually, my school gathered in his film archives, Washington University in St. Louis. I'm talking about Frank Marshall Davis. But the alt-right people, right-wing people, they did a documentary that came out some years ago. You know, I'm just open to exploring. Because, you know, some people believe that Barack Obama was the love child of his white mama and Malcolm X. Some people believe that Obama is Malcolm X's son, love child, or whatever. I don't know. These people are strange. People are strange, man. They do all types of interesting things. They do all types of interesting stuff. Show that picture one more time with him, mama, and the Kenyan. You know, Obama's white people, they connected to military intelligence and CIA. I know that, right? His grandparents, military intelligence, CIA connected. Yeah, I think that's his daddy. Barack Obama Sr., you are not the father. You are not the father. Okay. Y'all be the judge. You be the judge. By the way, buy my barbecue sauce. You be the judge. Okay. But anyway, all right. Let me like I said, the main stuff that goes, let's get this up to 100 people. Subscribe to rumble.com, WeAllBeTV. That's the new YouTube for, I mean, they got some interesting people on there, but they don't censor like YouTube does. And I got to get this stuff out. So can y'all support me over rumble.com, WeAllBeTV. That's rumble.com, WeAllBeTV. And for y'all that want to stay on the white tea plantation for a limited time, y'all can subscribe youtube.com/WeAllBeTV2. That's youtube.com/WeAllBeTV2. Like the words from Brother Herb, please spread the word. Support the channel. Cash App your support, $R2C2H2. $R2C2H2. Can you dig it? Let me see. I don't think Sister Betty Jones. Thank you so much, Sister Betty. Said for feeding the people. One love, Sister Betty. I got your text message. I got to respond back to you as well. It's been an interesting time indeed, but I'm glad that you are still in the land of the living and that you are open to receiving. I'm gonna keep on feeding y'all, most definitely. And let me see what else. Cash App your support, $R2C2H2. PayPal, Zelle, R2C2H2 @gmail.com, Vimo @R2C2H2, Apple Cash 901-299-4355. That's 901-299-4355. And you can join our Patreon, patreon.com/WeAllBe. Like I said, I'm gonna start uploading the band videos from YouTube from YT. They're gonna start going to Patreon for members only. So I'm doing a little makeover here on WeAllBe. Doing a makeover, making myself over, you know, same old run, but making myself over. Let's see. Also, get y'all gear, man. Support, because that's one thing. YT trying to limit my reach, but God has the final say. Goodbye, Artivist Art. Let's see. Go here. You want to buy some Artivist Art? Check this out. R2C2H2's place. You can wear art of his gear. Some good stuff, people. I wear my artwork. These my people right here. Uncle Fritchie and Auntie Liv. I wear my art. You see my art hanging back here? That's me. Working on my website, r2c2h2.com. Working on the website, trying to upgrade everything, and it's a process. But thank y'all so much for y'all patience and love, because love and happiness. Let me see. There you go. Look at that wonderful art. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Get y'all some art. Got some cups, mugs, stickers, and everything, man. Come get that art. Lovely, lovely day. Lovely art. Lovely art. Love art. All right. Check it out. Check it out. Okay, let me go into the comment section. A lot of y'all be commenting. See, make it a part. Say YouTube on my PC only has 6 people and no chat on it. That's what they do, man. They afraid of me, man. Like, can you imagine if I got the same support as Candace Owens and Joe Rogan or anybody else? How life will be? I'm a dangerous man. Yeah, that's his dad. I believe that's his daddy. I believe that's his daddy. I don't believe it's the Kenyan. And if that is his daddy, that'll make it even sadder how he didn't do us right. Because even, Jack Johnson getting pardoned by Donald Trump and wasn't Obama. Jack Johnson used to live in Chicago. He's buried in Chicago next to one of his white wives who committed suicide back in, I believe, 1911. Etta Dore, socialite from New York. I think it was 1911 or 1912 or something like that. But, I mean, it took Donald Trump to pardon Jack Johnson, been dead for a minute now, almost 80 years. Obama is scared of his own black shadow. The best thing he could do for black people is have a beer summit for a suspect race soldier, because he said the right thing the first time when he was harassing Skip Gates at his home, that the police acted stupidly, and what he do, he walked it back and had a beer summit with the white man. I think Skip Gates was there and Joe Biden. Come on, man. The Frank Marshall Day, I believe that's his daddy. So, the hairline. I mean, they got them features strong, man. Them jeans. Yeah, I believe the dude from Chicago is daddy, Frank Marshall Davis. Same thing with Barbara Bush. And yeah, people don't know about that story. I'm glad you brought up, Aleister Crowley, he was considered the most evil man in the world, the most wicked man. Aleister Crowley, the Englishman who had his own religion. He was like a Satanist, worshiped demons and stuff. He was the mentor of Jack Parsons, who's really the father of the space program in this country, NASA. Jack Parsons used to have sex orgies out in the desert, do a thing called sex magic. Their thing was to open up portals and summon demons, and he wanted to create an antichrist child. This Jack Parsons, this was the follower of Aleister Crowley, and found up the space program. But they said that Robert Bush's mom went over to Europe or whatever, and she connected with Crowley. And some people believe that Barbara Bush, who was the matriarch of the Bush crime family, or the Bush family, excuse me, of the Bush family, her father was really Aleister Crowley, and not who they say who her father is considered. So that's been around. So I'm glad you brought it up. Thank you for bringing it up. Barbara Bush being the daughter of Satan, allegedly. Oh, Slauson girl, she on it. Said this guy was a swinger. To my Frank Marshall Davis. Yeah, he was right. He was a part of the Harlem Renaissance. Yeah, he definitely like a poet, writer. He wrote a sex book. Yeah, wrote a sex book. Yes, yes. Looked it up. Oh yeah, he was smooth with it, man. I seen that very persuasive talker. That little clip I seen of him. Very persuasive. He good at what he did. Let's see. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, Dr. Shaw is going through a hard time right now, has some health setbacks. But God be with him. God has the final say. Man says no, but God says yes. Well, prayers up for Dr. Short. Thank you for bringing him. I got to call Dr. Short. It's been a minute. Like I said, YouTube removed a lot of Dr. Short videos that was done. There was a lot of them. I mean, they've been attacking me because I don't understand. Like, people could say, people have some stuff up there. They don't touch them. They let them grow. Yeah, Roland been compromised. People forget that, he cheated for Hillary, him and Donna Brazil. They basically threw away their careers for Hillary Clinton, the lady who says she keeps hot sauce in her purse. They try to give her cheat notes for that debate, and he lost his job at CNN, him and Donna Brazil. But Roland Martin is very much, he's boule. He's compromised. And like, I met Roland several times. I don't have no problem with him personally, but he sounds like he's about and paid for a shield for the Democratic plantation. He could be going real hard for them Democrats. So I don't know what the deal is. And also I heard, his people, he Haitian. So he's not from here like that. So we don't even have people in the media that really represent us like that. That advocate for Black made Americans or FBA or ADOS. Thank you, sister. Man, we received those blessings. Pray for everybody. Lord knows I need prayer. Somebody said this: Obama daddy is Muhammad Subu, Indonesian leader of the Subu Cup. Obama mom was Memphis. Well, we know his stepfather was Indonesian with some interesting connection. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, you look at the eyes, look at the mouth, the eyes, the mannerism. Even the way he speak, if you look at the video of Frank Marshall Davis speaking, and I will pull it up. I could try to find it. It's about, you know what? Why not? Let's try to find it. Oh, speaking. Let's find it. Y'all got me intrigued. Blessed with a very intelligent audience. Let's see if I find this video. Yeah, this is from my library. From my alma mater, from my school alma mater. I want to play it, but it's like it's a copyright thing. Look at Frank Marshall Davis interview. It's on YouTube. Look it up. It's a copyright thing. Hang I pretty bro Zabak, the midget Zabak. I think that's it. Yeah, that's what they do. He was a ritual sacrifice. You look at the people who benefited from his removal. You think about people like him. Darren Seals like a throwback to those activists, kind of like like Fred Hampton, Bunchy Carter, people like that. Imagine if they were allowed to live a long life and die in their sleep like a George H.W. Bush in his 90s, or like they lived to be 100 like Henry Kissinger. These folks got to go. You know, because Darren King D. Seals, I think, was only 29 years old. Fred Hampton was just 21. And Bunchy Carter was just 26. This is what they do. This is our government. And then they'll replace them with people like, you know, I just named some of the people. It's unfortunate. BML, bisexual, lesbian marches raised billions for Act Blue. Biden been police. They the real police immunity. That crime bill gave the police immunity back in 94. Y'all talking about some crime bill, some Project 2025. It is what it is. Yeah, George Soros. That's the guy. Look him up. He gave almost $40 million to the Ferguson situation. The Ferguson psyop. Good to be missed and to be appreciated, Sister Betty. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sister Slosser. It means a lot to me if you think I'm better than a college history professor. I received that. Maybe I should be in a college somewhere. I don't know if I'll get tenure, though, the way I be talking about stuff. So Mr. Muhammad Powell was a Puerto Rican. He could have been a Puerto Rican, could have been white. Bimini. Was it Bimini? He used to love going to Bimini, and that's where they scattered his ashes, I believe. He was cremated. I believe they murdered Adam Clayton Powell Jr., though. They destroyed his career, and they destroyed the man. I think he died from cancer, but they got stuff that could give people cancer. Because it's like, what's interesting, you know, like, you know, Trump went to Bethesda Naval Hospital when he had COVID. And you saw how Trump got out there, and Trump got out there. As soon as he's checked in, he was out there. He was like driving around. Hey, everybody, I'm good. I'm not sick like that. I'm go back to the White House. People don't tell you about Naval Bethesda Hospital. It's interesting in history. That's where they did JFK's autopsy. That weird botched autopsy of JFK was done at Bethesda Hospital, the Bethesda Naval Hospital. Now I guess it's part of the Walter Reed complex. It's known as the Walter Reed thing. But Walter Reed was actually, the hospital was in DC and they closed it down. I guess they moved it to the Bethesda, to the Naval Hospital, whatever they call it. I don't know. But that's where they did JFK's botched autopsy. That's where Senator Joseph McCarthy went and ended up dying at Bethesda Naval Hospital. In something weird. Like, I think he had some type of leg issue and ended up dead. This is Senator Joseph McCarthy, who led the Red Scare of the 50s, very powerful Irish Catholic U.S. Senator from Wisconsin, who was real close to the Kennedy family. He did a lot of the Kennedy daughters. He was the godfather for Robert F. Kennedy's first child, Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, who was a former lieutenant governor of Maryland. His firstborn, her godfather was Joe McCarthy. Joe McCarthy gave Robert F. Kennedy Sr. his first job on his legal counsel team when he was doing all those Red Scare communist hearings. And people want to paint Joseph McCarthy as an evil man in American history. But truth be told, he was correct. The communists did infiltrate the American government. You know, this is during the time of the Rosenbergs, the husband-wife team who were spies for Russia. They were executed by the state. The United States put them to death. You know, people were like saying, "Don't kill them." And what's crazy was Ethel's brother sold her out to the government to protect his own self. So she was betrayed by her brother, but truth be told, they were spies for Russia. And their children ended up being raised by Abe Maripool. Abe Maripool was an educator who wrote the song Strange Fruit. So a lot of y'all think that Billie Holiday wrote the song Strange Fruit. It was written by a white Jewish dude who was an educator. She made it popular or infamous. But he wrote the lyrics. He ended up raising the children of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. So, like, people that Joseph McCarthy said he was an evil man, he actually did what he's supposed to do. He exposed some of the double agents in the government, and he paid a price for it. So they probably murdered it. Allegedly, they got rid of him. Also, Frantz Fanon, the African revolutionary philosopher, Frantz Fanon, he was treated for leukemia or something like that. at Naval Bethesda Hospital, ended up down there back in the early 60s, I believe. And then you also had the first Secretary of Defense, say James Forrestal. See, it's James Forrestal. James Forrestal. I think that was the first Secretary of Defense. Because they used to be called the Secretary of War, right? But they named him Secretary of Defense. He was on the Truman administration. Yeah, James Forrestal. He was on the Truman administration, first Secretary of Defense. And he was part of allegedly Majestic 12 that dealt with UFOs, because UFOs, the government knows about the aliens and UFOs for a while. And he was part of Majestic 12 allegedly. He allegedly committed suicide by jumping out the 16th floor of the Naval Hospital. They threw him out the damn hospital. They threw him out the hospital. They threw him out the 16th floor. They say he fell out the window, out the 16th floor window. He said he was there for medical care for depression, but also he was against he was a supporter. He was anti-Zionist too. You know, the state of Israel was recognized by the Harry Truman administration, excuse me. You know, Harry Truman, a Democrat, helped establish the state of Israel, and also Harry Truman gave the blessing to create what is now known as the CIA. He lived long enough to regret the decision to create the CIA. The same CIA that was allegedly involved in the assassination of President Kennedy. And he was a critic of the CIA because he felt like they operated outside of the presidential powers. Like they overgrew their bounds. Like they were too big for their britches. And Kennedy wanted to get rid of the CIA. And you look at Project 2025, one of the things they want to dismantle, from my understanding, is Homeland Security and the FBI. And I don't see no problem with it. The Department of Education, I think, was formed in 1979. And the fact that we got young people graduating from high school that can't read or write or add. You got young people in the so-called workforce that can't read, write, they don't write cursive. They don't know how to do simple math. They're not stupid. They've been indoctrinated and dumbed down by design, because as all this truth is coming out in 2024, if you've been indoctrinated, you think that assassinations are staged. You think, oh man, Trump is in on it, man. He didn't get hurt. Because I play Grand Theft Auto and I play Call of Duty in Fortnite. And if he got shot in the ear, it's supposed to look like this and that. We so desensitized. It's by design, man. We in the last days of the Roman Empire, just bread and circuses, man. On steroids. Okay. I think I talked enough. Said Bayo Rustin lived across the street from A.L.L and Randolph, who lived across the street from me. Chelsea, Manhattan. Okay, that's interesting, man. I know you got some stories if you was around. Black politicians and black preachers have sold us out worse than whites. The last one we had, one of the greatest black preachers and greatest black politicians, got ran out of Congress because he did the job, and he didn't compromise himself. Adam Clayton Powell did the longest filibuster in history for many years and won at least 1 or 2 elections after that. Well, they removed him from his seat. They wouldn't let him seat. He won his election, then they threw him out of Congress and they replaced him with Charlie Rangel. That's what they do. It's like Sheila Jackson Lee. You know, y'all mourning her. No disrespect to the dead and nothing like that. But she didn't do like what Mickey Leland did. There was one of her predecessors of that seat. Mickey Leland was actually assassinated in Africa for trying to end world poverty and really advocate for people of color, not just in the States, but geopolitically. You know, yeah, a lot of Latinos, because they got conservative values. They believe in the family. They got a faith, Catholic faith. A lot of Latinos, so that makes sense. They vote their interest. And G-Boo, yeah, got me doing some good shows like Counselor Rashad. Who will win? I believe if they play fair, it will be Trump. it won't be a landslide because they like to mess around. So, but I believe Trump will win, and we'll see. It may not be an election. This might be because Dick Gregory was 8 years too early. This may be there may not be an election this year. So we are in World War III right now. They haven't announced it. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna call it a night. I don't look at Trump as being a problem at all. I don't think Trump and all presidents are related. No, that's nothing new. And I'm related to different people. They say I'm related to Sister Rosetta Tharpe and Curtis Mayfield and Marvin Gaye and some other famous black people, Julian Mayfield. Does that disqualify me from doing what I'm doing? Evidently, it has not helped me monetarily wise to be related to these people or notoriety wise. But anyway, thank y'all so much. He said she ran rampant in Texas. I can't wait to get Roy West out of here. Somewhere I read that McCarthy was rainbow with Roy Cohn. Now, Roy Cohn was his part of his legal counsel team, right? He worked with Kennedy. I mean, McCarthy, I don't know people. It's hard to call people sexuality in hindsight. McCarthy was very much loved by Joe Kennedy, the patriarch of the Kennedy family. Like he dated a lot of the Kennedy sisters. He was like, Joe Kennedy had a lot of respect for Joe McCarthy, both Irish Catholic and all that stuff. I don't know. Roy Cohn was an interesting character. Roy Cohn was a mentor to Donald Trump. Roy Cohn saw the potential in Donald Trump. Roy Cohn was a brilliant lawyer. He was ruthless, but he was very good at what he did. And he saw the brilliance in Donald Trump and really tried to cultivate that. I know that Richard Nixon, former president Richard Nixon, thought highly of Trump and thought he would make a good executive of the executive branch. So I don't know. It don't really bother me, even if they was grown folks' business, man. Like whatever. Like it don't bother me about Dr. King allegations either. Al Clayton Powell Jr. tried to accuse Dr. King and Bail of having like some type of very compromising relationship. It's like even before the March on Washington, Jacob Hoover had evidence on Bayard Rustin about him. Bayard Rustin had a reputation of turning out young white men. Like he would turn them out. These would be white men married to white women, whatever, with families, and he'll be known turning them out in cars and stuff. He got caught a couple of times turning out some white boys out in California, and Jacob Hoover had the goods of all people. And they'll try to get him canceled before the March on Washington. But anyway, to Sheila Jackson Lee, yeah, I don't know too much what she said. I don't know about McCarthy getting caught. I know he had a alcoholic problem. I think he was married when he passed away, and I think this got him out the way. Whatever it is, people can say anything about anybody after they die. All right, y'all. I'll thank y'all so much. They Kamala Harris will not win this election in 2024. Oh, thank you so much, A Bills. And you better than Vlad. Yeah, I gotta get that Vlad money though. Somebody asked this doing a show. I don't know. You tell me. I haven't heard from Bernard like that, and I can hold my own. But I know even with Bernard Johnson, they removed videos we did from YouTube that I did with him a couple years back. So is Bernard doing shows? Anyway, thank y'all so much, y'all. Y'all take care of yourself. Good night and good luck. And may all your dreams come true, man. Because we all be in it to win it. Can you dig it? One love.